and it's day one and you walking in there on the first day, man, you in there, man. But you feel something. It's right in here, man. And it's screaming, and it's yelling, and it's saying, release me. And it's saying, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt, and I'll see you in the winner's circle celebrating your victory. Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! You got this! You got this! You got this! Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 256 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got checking in. We got Constance Sherrod, Pearl, Mississippi. We got Mona Obermolak is in Orlando, Florida. We got Countess Victorian. She said, good morning, great people. Oh, man, I feel great, man. We got Michael Benton, Cincinnati, Ohio. That's my man. I see you out there, Mike. I see all your posts. We got Yolanda McKinney in Texas. I see you, Yolanda. We got Tanya in the DMV. We got Nadira Coley. I want to read what she said. She said, good morning, leadership family. Looking forward to today's Academy featuring not one, but two of Newark's finest leaders and advocates. What a historic moment. Newark native, Newark educator, Newark VP. We got Dr. Rella Hicks, Augusta, Georgia. Robin Snowden Harambe out there in Fresno, California. Where we at? We got Robin Nickens in the building. We got Chantel Edwards in the building. We got Takesha High, Virginia. And Chantel is in Kansas City, by the way. Grace Castaneda is in, you in Atlanta today. I see you. We got Countess Victorian in Baton Rouge. She said Baton Rouge Kingdom. I hear that. We got Dr. Sonia Matthew in BCT. She was just here with us. If you missed that one, man, you better go back because she was bringing like flames that day. So you better scroll back and check her out. We got Ronald Pugh, Cedar Hill. Hey, Ron, man, I got to get you on here too, man. You on my list, man. I got you. You know, my list is like extensive. Literally, my wait list is, I don't like to call it wait list. I call it my future guest list. It's 5 years long, right? But I sometimes got to move people forward. We got you. Rodney Richardson. If I was coming to that TABC conference, you would have really been on my radar and we would have got it done by now. Tabsy Zeskin is in Connecticut. Rodney Richardson's in Hampton, Virginia. Fatima Nelson, I've been getting those emails. I don't want you to think, man, Kafele, man, I like him on Saturday, but this dude don't respond to emails. Listen, Fatima, I got it. Hit me. No, you don't have to hit me again because I did put it somewhere where I could see it. I'll be in touch. I will be in touch. Marsha Poe, San Diego, she's going to be on here soon. It's coming. Well, I said soon. I think it's like the summer, but she'll be on here. Tashika Truesdale, Atlanta, Georgia. Leslie Akintunde is in Northern Virginia. Chancellor Davis is in Las Vegas, Nevada. Stacy Joy is in the building. I should say Stacy L. Joy is in the building out there in sunny California for the Saturday fire, but no fire in LA. Good. Thank God. We got the son of one of my guests, Elijah Lott, is in the building. Good to see you, sir. We got Alicia Scott is in the building, Olive Branch, Mississippi. We got the good doctor, superstar herself, Dr. Sheikah Houston, one half of Create and Educate with the other superstar, Dr. Tammy Taylor. That's every 10:30. Every 10:30. That sounds real smart, doesn't it? Every Saturday at 10:30, Create and Educate. Facebook Live right here. I think they also stream right to YouTube right here. Make sure that you do that. I'm getting ready to shut it down in a second, but I got to do something to my screen, y'all. So just bear with me a second. Bear with me. just bear with me. I've never done this live, but I see that I need to. Just bear with me 1 second. Don't talk about me though. Just bear with me. I gotta change something on my screen. Where's that thing at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Oh, here it is. Here it is. I don't like my Zoom, man. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right, there we go. All right. They said, man, Kafele, you did all that, man. What you diva, man? What's going on, man? We got LaKenya Robin, Roland from Jersey in the building. We got Tracy Cooper. I see you, Tracy, in the building. We got Dot McKeever Jeter in the building. Donna Gant is in the building. We got Alicia. Donna Gant, you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be in those Zeta streets. But I appreciate you stopping through. We got Alicia Lee Ellis in the building. John Herrick's my man. I saw you. I watched the rerun, sir. Good stuff. Good stuff on the PDP podcast. Arlette Johnson is in the building. She's coming back, man. I keep on bringing her back. AP of the year, Connecticut. And I'm going to close it out with my man, Josh Tovar. I don't see my wife. I'm sure she's on here. But the queen is in the castle. I just don't see her. But I bet you she's on here. But listen, let me close with Josh. Hey, Josh. You better be there Monday when I get to Charlotte. I'll be there. I got a flight tomorrow. I'll be in Charlotte all day, right? So I'll be looking for you, man. So that's my man, MPA Jaguar, Josh Tovar. Let me get going. I see my wife down there now. There she is. There she is. She checked in late, man. I see her. I see her. Hey, y'all, I see all of y'all, man. I see you. I see you. I see you, Jacqueline. I see you, Roz. But I got to get started, man. I got 2 superstar guests on here. Let me say formally to everybody now, good morning. Greetings. Welcome to week 256 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Hey, man, I got that same question every day, every Saturday, same question. I'm going to ask it to you again. How y'all feel? What a week, man. What a week. I really every week when I'm preparing, and particularly when I look at my notes Friday nights, because I'm preparing like from Wednesday to Saturday morning. So Friday night, Saturday morning, I'm looking over my notes, tweaking, revising, editing, all that stuff. And I always say to myself, don't get into no politics, man. Leave it alone. And then when I'm on here live, it's like, yeah, I know. But let me just say this to y'all. I wrote this post, I think it was yesterday. And it was just my thoughts on the possible closure of the Department of Education. I'm not going to get into that. I think that with some I was misunderstood because of the context I gave. I think that those who were in leadership will fully understand the post because, see, I was in leadership doing No Child Left Behind. So I was not a fan of the Department of Education at all. I hated my job. And let me be quite frank. And I'm not in the monologue yet, y'all. Let me just throw this at you. During those days, No Child Left Behind, beginning, I guess it was 2001, and then that spilled into Race to the Top, same stuff. It was test, assessment. Test preparation. So in my mind, see, because I've read a lot, right? So it's like I know what they need, and I'm like, we doing all this test prep. I'm a new principal. Test prep. This is what it is. Test prep. So now my energy is toward the Department of Education, and I'm not happy. I'm like, man, this is garbage. So now I got ambivalence. Don't nobody get on the thread and start to tell me. I have ambivalence about the closure of the Department of Education because I'm not for it. I'm ambivalent because I remember those days and all that test prep coming out of that. That's where it was coming from. I'm like, how these black babies in my school going to achieve at the highest levels when we're preparing them for a math assessment all day, all year, a language arts assessment all year? When do we get to the real education? So I never was a fan of that department. So I get all the other stuff, higher education, Pell Grants, Title I, civil rights. I get it all. And for those reasons, that's the ambivalence. I don't want it closed because I don't want anything to happen to that. But as far as the education that was coming out of that department during particularly the first half of my principalship, baby, ain't no sympathy coming from here. Not me. Not me. I remember we get all these shipments, man. These big boxes of test booklets. Oh no, that ain't education, man. So so like I tell people all the time, you can come on my page and you can debate me, you can disagree with me. But when you come disrespectful at me, that block button works real good. Right? It still works. I will block your behind and I will never see you again. Right? So come at me right. I don't mind dialogue. I don't mind having discussion and debate. But you come at me disrespectfully. I'm 64, man. You coming at me with your 20-something-year-old self, your 30-something year, you gonna come at me disrespectfully? We ain't gonna debate that. You gone. Nice knowing you, and I don't even know you anyway. No, sir, man. We ain't on here for this. Let me transition. Hey, y'all, thoughts and prayers. I say it every Saturday to all the victims impacted by the wildfires in Southern California. I'm gonna keep saying that for a while too. I'm gonna keep saying it for a while. I see y'all out there. I'm gonna keep saying it for a while. Dr. Deneen Washington, I see you. I gotta shout you out because you're gonna be on here soon. I see you. Thoughts and prayers out of Newark, New Jersey. Thoughts and prayers also, though, to all the folks impacted by these hurricanes. I mean, not hurricanes, tornadoes. This is that season now. And we see a lot of them. And I just want to say thoughts and prayers to them. Perhaps some of the folks that are impacted by all these tornadoes that we've seen in this season are some of the fam from the Academy. So I just want to make sure that I acknowledge that as well. Shout out to my Schenectady, New York, Schenectady City Schools fam out there, particularly the three principals that I have a direct coaching relationship with. Shout out to the three of you. I appreciate y'all immensely. Shout out to Middletown, Connecticut schools, the principals I've worked with directly, and also just to the administrative team, man. Great week this week. I was out the entire week. I'm a little tired. But that's what I prayed for. So I won't complain, right? Back on the flight tomorrow, right? But that's what it is. That's what it is. I could be sitting here saying I can't get booked, right? So we'll go with the fact that I'm busy and got a full calendar, as opposed to, can someone hook me up out there, right? So welcome to all the first timers. But if this is in fact your first time, that means that you have missed 255 sessions. We've been doing this since the first Saturday in May 2020, every week consecutively. Again, 256 Saturdays consecutively. I have not missed a Saturday, and I don't get paid a penny to do this. This is a labor of love, period. Drop the mic, right? We use a phone. I ain't got a mic, right? So, but we ain't gonna be dropping no phones though, right? Because then I'll be saying drop some money with Verizon. So we'll just keep it symbolic, right? So let's go. School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. That's annual every year. This year we're gonna do it in Raleigh, North Carolina. Join me in Raleigh, y'all, July 15 and 16. We're gonna be talking instructional leadership. Go to principalkafele.com, scroll down, and you'll see it says Instructional Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. Click the link, register, join me in Raleigh for 2 days, July 15 and 16. We going hard on instructional leadership. So I want you to be in the building with me. And for registering, you get this, right? You get the new joint, man. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? This is my 14th book, but as I always say, this is the best book I've ever written. The best book I've ever written. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? I got full disclosure. I got nervous this morning. My man Sean Hurt, who comes on at 10 o'clock Eastern time, Facebook Live, the turnaround principal. Make sure you check him out. He did a session on the leadership team. And he was talking about some different characteristics that must be in place for the leadership team, which is inclusive of the team members trusting one another. So I got nervous, right? Because he was going hard on this. Thank you. So I got nervous, and I grabbed my book, and I said, man, do I have that in the book? Trust the team members trusting one another. Like, how are we an effective team if like as Sean said, I look to my right, I look to my left, and I don't trust you. I don't trust you. How are we effective? So I went right to the book, man, to the chapter on the leadership team. It's called Maximizing Your Administrative Leadership Team. And it was right there, baby. It was right there. I said, whew, I would have had to rewrite this thing, man. It was right there. So, whew, that would have been a disaster, right? So if Sean, if you on here, thank you for that. I needed to go back and make sure that I had that in here. So get your copy, y'all. Go to Amazon right now. Like if you're watching me on the computer, pull out your device, go to Amazon, go to ASCD, order the book. It'll be here. It'll be there by Monday or Tuesday, right? Enough said. Enough said. Let's go. Now somebody said, don't you know what's in your book? Man, no author knows word for word what's in their book. News flash. We don't know word for word. Like someone will say, like you said on page 23, I don't know what's on page 23. It don't work that way. I know I have the ideas and the concepts. When you start getting into like the meticulous specificity, nah, man, you that don't stay with you because life is in the way. Enough said. Let's go. So again, get your copy today. I see you, Marcus Jackson. He's doing a residence with me, man, starting in April. Every last Saturday of the month, Marcus Jackson going to be in the building until December, right? Oh, I see. Look, I got to do this, y'all. Dr. Tommy Mabry is in the building. He was on the Jennifer Hudson show this past Thursday. Oh, my God. Or was it Wednesday? He's my man. Man, I've been knowing Tommy Mabry since he was looking up. Wanting to be big time. Now I'm watching him on the couch, man, with Jennifer Hudson. His video right now, because I've been monitoring it. His video has 591,000 views. Hey, Tommy, man, 591,000 views. If you didn't go to Jennifer Hudson's Instagram or go to my Facebook page, you know I'm gonna share my brother, right? So you can go right to my Facebook page, or you can go anywhere, man. Watch that video as Tommy Mabry, Dr. Tommy Mabry, Dr. Tommy, I think he's 39 now, right? 10 schools he was kicked out of, 7 elementary, 3 middle, shot in the foot, breaking an entry in 5th grade, and I can go on and on. Dr. Tommy Mabry, published author. I think he got 5 books. Had grills that had to be surgically removed. He couldn't just pull them joints out. Had to be surgically removed. He's tatted her whole body. He said, "I'm keeping them. Hands, neck, everywhere." Dr. Tommy Mabry sitting up there with Jennifer Hudson on Wednesday. You better check that out. And then next time you look at a young Tommy Mabry in your school and you write him off, catch yourself. Catch yourself. Because it's a whole lot of young, I ain't even get to my monologue yet, y'all. It's a whole, but my guest said they got time, right? It's a whole lot of young Tommy Mabrys in your school, in your class. You know that. But this young Tommy Mabry is now Dr. Tommy Mabry. And I am proud to call him my man, my boy, my friend, my colleague, my dude. You know, as soon as I saw that video on Instagram, here's me. I was on the treadmill in Middletown, Connecticut. I'm on the treadmill watching the Instagram reel. I text Tommy like right on. I'm like 4.0 fast. That's fast for walking. I text him, man. We got into the whole conversation, man. I'm proud of that young man. Good job, Tommy. Keep us all keep doing what you do and keep us all shedding a tear, man. Good job. Good job. Hey, let me go, y'all. Let me do my monologue real quick. Somebody said, "Damn, you did 2 monologues, didn't you?" Let me do my monologue, y'all, real quick. I'm gonna keep it short. I'm not gonna do off everything I got written on here. I'm gonna keep it short, and then I'll post it as a separate reel later this afternoon. My monologue is called "Self-Doubt and Leadership Effectiveness Are in incompatible. Let me give you that again. Self-doubt and leadership effectiveness are incompatible. Let's look at some things, y'all. I'm going to go quick on this. Challenging situations. When those challenging situations arise, you can't get yourself to a point where you're spoofed by it, right? Like, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Challenging situations go part and parcel with school leadership, right? It may not be in the job description, but it goes with the job. Anticipate and expect challenging situations, maybe even every day. I don't mean it in terms of extreme. Some may be extreme, but something doesn't have to be extreme to be challenging. So know that challenging situations are going to come your way. That is not the time to develop self-doubt and low confidence. That's the time to rise to the occasion. We'll talk about that in a second. Secondly, overwhelming situations, they're going to arise. They're going to arise. I see you, Superintendent Glover. Glad to see you too. If y'all missed that session with Superintendent Glover, go back and see it. So overwhelming situation, ooh, I've never experienced anything like this before. I've never seen anything like this. They happen. But that's not the time for you to shrink. That's not the time for you to have a pity party. That's not the time for you to go to the want ads and see maybe there's a teacher vacancy. This principal thing is not for me. No, that's not this time. You worked too hard to get here. So maybe you need to network with some other people who have been in your shoes already with situations like this that seem overwhelming. But do know that if you haven't experienced anything that was overwhelming within your leadership, maybe it's right around the corner for next Monday or Tuesday. That's not the time to shrink. That's not the time to start doubting yourself. That's the time to grow. When you lift weights, you don't pick up a weight that you could do 1,000,000 repetitions with, like you curling for your bicep. You need something that creates resistance, that now puts stress on the muscle, and now you can barely lift it. Well, that's how you grow as a principal. When you experience those overwhelming, those challenging situations, that's that resistance that's on the barbell that allows your leadership to grow and to develop. That's what that is. So don't run from it. Run to it. Unexpected situations. Yeah, they're going to happen. They're going to happen. You didn't see it coming, man. You going through your day and whoo, oh. All right. That's part of principal leadership. That is not the time for you to shrink. That is not the time for self-doubt. That is not the time for you to lose your confidence. That's not the time. That's the time for you to meet that challenge. And as you meet it and as you overcome it, that's when you grow. That's the bar, that's the weight on the bar, baby. That's what that is. That's when the muscle grows. You pick up that bar. Ooh, I'm able to do 100 repetitions. All right, good. But you ain't gonna grow from it. You just did them. You had nothing better to do with your time but to curl a bar 100 times. You ain't growing from that. Ain't nothing gonna happen. Put some weight on that and you could barely do 8 to 10 repetitions. You will see the results within 2 weeks. Resistance. See? So, but also difficult people. You're going to encounter them. It might be your superintendent. It might be the board members. It might be parents. It might be community activists. It might be union leaders. It might be just people on your staff making your life difficult. That is not the time to shrink. And I know I'm talking to people out here right now who are dealing with these issues. Yeah, I know you out there because that's what principal leadership is. That's what AP leadership is. So it ain't like I'm talking something foreign. The question is, how are you going to respond to it? How are you going to react to it? That's the question. That's your question, right? So difficult people. And I might add, sometimes your children might be some of them difficult people, right? How you going to react? Let's go. Setbacks. Yeah, you're going to have them. You trying to walk in there with that Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kobe mentality that I'm just going to win. I'm just going to win, baby. I'm going to win every night I go on the floor. Now you're going to have some setbacks, baby. You're going to get knocked right on your behind. some days. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how effective you are. There are going to be days when you get pushed on your butt. That is not the time to now doubt yourself. Everything's been going good, and now you laying up, you laying down, looking up at everybody because you got knocked down. That's not the day that now, oh, I don't know if I could do this anymore. No, get your behind up. And again, that networking I talked about, talking to other people, coming on this broadcast. Man, I got Dr. Shakirah Miller, Dr. Samantha Lott-Velez coming on here in a few minutes. That's the kind of voices you need to listen to. I don't just bring anybody on here. I bring superstars, people that I know have information that's going to help somebody on Monday. I don't just randomly, hey, come on my show. Nah. People, if you see somebody on here, that's because they got a track record of success. Know that. So, real quick, I'm closing. That inner voice, you know that inner voice, like it's right in here, right in here, and it's saying, I can't do this. Oh, man, I'm broken. They broke me, man. See, we have it, some of us, but you got to use that other voice. See, you have to counter that. Like if you're a boxer, someone throw a jab, you got to know how to counter jab, right? You got to know how to counter punch. So when that voice is in here, you got to counter that voice. See, you got to counter that voice. So you got to talk louder than that voice. So now your voice, the inner voice is saying, I can't do this. But that counter voice is you intentionally saying, but I'm built for this. But I got this. That God chose me for this. That I worked my butt off to be here. See, you got to let that voice speak. But if you suppress that voice, then that inner voice talking about, I can't do this. Oh, man, these jive people in this building. That's an old 70s slang. These people in this building, man, I can't work with them. Oh, my superintendent. Oh, my God. Oh, the board members. Oh, my God. The community people. Oh, my God. The pastor even stopped by here. Oh, my God. And you succumb. No, that's this voice. You let that one go and go with this one, right? I'm built for this. Yeah, you got me today, but you ain't got me tomorrow. Because here's the thing. I'm closing, y'all. I'm going back to the lab, my office, and I'm gonna work on just jotting down in my journal what went wrong. That's the situation analysis. I'm gonna analyze my current situation. What went wrong? And then I'm going to set goals for dealing with this situation, whether it be challenging, overwhelming, unexpected, obstacles, barriers, difficult people, setbacks. I'm going to write a plan. I'm going to write goals. I'm going to write goals. Here's what I'm going to attain this going moving forward. But now I'm going to write my plan. I'm going to write my strategy, baby. I got my plan, and I'm gonna stick to it. I might call my thought partner, my accountability partner. Yo, I want you to hear this. What you think? And now we move forward. Confident, no self-doubt, confident. And at the end of the day, as I close, your mind, as you walk into that building, I'm built for this. This school is a better school because I lead it. Let me repeat that. I'm built for this. And this school is a better school because I lead it. Enough said, y'all. Take that and use it, because some of y'all dealing with some stuff. Don't let it destroy you. I got guests, man, and I'm bringing them right up here. Man. I'm going to change that background right quick, as I always, every week I tell y'all, I forgot to change the background. Maybe I should write a note, right?
Yeah, especially with my boobs out.
There we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey.
We got Brick City North in the building, right? I'm glad to see y'all, man. Let me share these bios. Hey, in full disclosure to the fam out there, when I say fam for the new people, fam is everybody that's tuning in, right? In full disclosure, I did tell them to send me the short version.
We tried.
But we've been blessed with so much.
Ain't nothing short about these bios, man. I said, well, as I was reading them, I said, there's nothing I can cut out, like nothing, y'all. So can y'all bear with me a second to the fam out there? I got to read this, man. Nothing could be edited. It's too much in here that I think will empower somebody that's receiving it, right? So just take a listen. Here we go. Dr. Shakirah Miller was born in Newark, New Jersey, where she graduated from Hawkins Street Elementary School and earned a scholarship to attend Blair Academy. I'm going to read fast, y'all. A prominent boarding high school in Blairstown, New Jersey, where she excelled in field hockey, basketball, and track. But after Blair, she started her college career at Lehigh University, but later returned home to graduate from Rutgers University, Newark, with a BA in psychology. Because of her love of psychology, she attended Teachers College, Columbia University, and earned an MA in applied psychology. Dr. Miller's professional career in teaching began in 1999 at Chestnut Hill Academy, an all-boys school in Philadelphia, PA. Her love for home brought her back to Newark to teach mathematics at Luis Munoz, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Marin Middle School. Dr. Miller absolutely loved mathematics and loved instilling in her students an appreciation and respect for the content. Dr. Miller earned an MA in Administration Supervision from St. Peter's University while still a middle school mathematics teacher. She's promoted to the position of vice president at Barringer High School, vice principal at Barringer High School and Rafael Hernandez Elementary School, and in 2007 became the proud principal of Miller Street School. After serving the community of Newark for 14 years, Dr. Miller decided to broaden her experience and became a principal of Mount Vernon Avenue Elementary School in Irvington, and was later promoted, Irvington, New Jersey, and was later promoted as the interim assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction with Irvington Public Schools. During her tenure in Irvington, Dr. Miller earned her EDD in Education and Leadership from Teachers College at Columbia University. Dr. Miller then earned the opportunity to serve as the assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction with Roselle Public Schools. Dr. Miller later returned to her hometown of Newark, came back once again serve the community as the assistant superintendent of the Southwest and currently the East Central school leadership teams. Dr. Miller is the CEO of JJMP Coaching and Consulting, LLC, where she's a strategic advisor who utilized her certifications as a professional certified coach with the International Coaching Federation and certified executive coach, certified team coach, certified diversity professional, and board certified coach to move clients forward through transformative leadership and executive coaching. So I'm smiling because I'm saying already, and we didn't even get started yet, somebody out there, you might want to contact her now with all the certifications, right? You might want to contact her and come on out and do some professional learning. And then once you hear her speak this morning and afternoon, then you'll be certain. Dr. Miller serves as a board member of the White Foundation, Inc., a nonprofit organization that provides scholarships to students to attend independent boarding high schools. She's the mother of 13-year-old twins, loves the loves of her life, Brett and Zoe. Dr. Miller continues to emphasize her appreciation for the overflow of blessings that God continues to pour down into her life. And she closes by saying, to God be the glory.
Amen.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Got one more, y'all. It's a little long, y'all. Just hang in there with me. I couldn't edit it. It spills into the second page. Right? It's all right, y'all. Dr. Samantha Lott-Velez. That's because they accomplished a lot, y'all. They really did. Is a passionate and dedicated leader in education with over 23 years of service committed to the success of children, families, and community. She currently serves as the assistant superintendent for the Newark Board of Education, overseeing elementary schools in the South and West wards of the city, a community she proudly called home for over 30 years. Dr. Lott-Velez's journey in education has been one of advocacy, innovation, and unwavering commitment to ensuring that all children, particularly those most at risk, receive a high-quality education. She's been instrumental in shaping policies at the state level, serving on committees to rewrite regulations and develop initiatives that impact school districts statewide. Her leadership is distinguished by her ability to build systems. Let me say that again. Her leadership is distinguished by her ability to build systems focused on pedagogy, staff development, parental engagement, and community partnerships. We're going to revisit that later. I'm going to turn off that email in a minute. From August 2011 to June 2021, she served as supervisor and later as executive director of the Newark Public Schools Office of Early Childhood, leading the largest early childhood program in New Jersey. She made history as the district's first Head Start director and the first African-American to serve as the executive director of early childhood in the Newark Public Schools. Understanding the critical importance of early education, she established a pre-K to grade 3 transition committee, strengthening the foundation for young learners. She also served as thought partner to the superintendent, pioneering the district's conception to cradle to age 3 model, forging partnerships with hospitals, health and social service agencies, and families to ensure children enter school healthy, supported, and ready to learn. That's big time, y'all. In July 2021, she was appointed assistant superintendent overseeing 14 elementary schools. Under her leadership, 9 of her 12 elementary schools identified as comprehensive or targeted status schools by the New Jersey Department of Education successfully exited that status and have remained out. Good job. Great job. One additional school progressed from comprehensive to targeted status, demonstrating remarkable gains in student achievement and attendance. Another great job. By year 2 of her tenure, students enrolled in schools under her leadership exhibited gains in core content, attendance, and positive behavior. She attributes these achievements to strong relationships and accountability systems with and between school principals, teachers, and wider school communities. Now in her 4th year as assistant superintendent, she remains steadfast in her mission to drive, sustain academic progress, believing deeply that a strong foundation of pre-K to grade 3 is essential for long-term success. Let me read that again. Believing deeply that a strong foundation in pre-K to grade 3 is essential for long-term student success. And finally, a lifelong learner and champion for education, Dr. Lott-Velez holds a Bachelor of Arts in Contemporary Arts focused on communication management and from Ramapo College of New Jersey. She earned her teaching certificates at certifications at Bloomfield College and Montclair State University, where she also earned a Master of Arts in Education Leadership. In December 2024, she successfully defended her doctoral dissertation at Seton Hall University and will officially graduate in May 2025. Above all, Dr. Samantha Lott-Velez is a leader who serves with both expertise and heart, inspiring those around her to push boundaries, challenge the status quo, and most importantly, never stop believing in the limitless potential of children. Great stuff, y'all. And again, to the fam out there, I couldn't cut none of that. It's because sometimes I edit them. It was just too much good in there to edit. So I got no issue. Hey, y'all, do me a favor before we get started. Hit the share button, hit the retweet button, hit the repost, tag somebody, call somebody, text somebody, hit them Facebook leadership groups, and hit that like button. Even if you don't like it, hit the like button anyway. Right? This is a algorithm-driven world that we live in. So this is how we generate the algorithm. So we but as far as the numbers who are on here now, we good, man. But I want to get even gooder, right? So hit the hit those buttons and let's go. Dr. Miller, let me start with you. Your and by the way, to the two of you, I failed to say this when we were off mic, off camera. I'll get to those talking points. I got a little excited when I was putting this agenda together and wrote up a whole mess of questions. So we'll get to them, right? If we don't, we'll do a part 2, right? Dr. Miller, your bio is quite impressive, and we've been in the same space. It could be folks out there who might be saying, Kafele, like, why? How come you haven't brought me on? Like, well, I know these two. I work with them in Newark. So there are others in either Newark or somewhere else, and you like, what about me? I don't know you. I don't know you. I ain't work with you, right? So I'm saying that to say this. There was so much in that bio that I just didn't know. I didn't know about all those principalships in different places. The assistant superintendent, the athletics, like the stereotype of someone, you see a tall woman, oh, she wants to play basketball. But I just wasn't going to ask you that. And then it turned out you did, right? So here's the thing. From your bio, I'm clear of your accomplishments relative to what you wrote. But I got a different question for you as it relates to your bio. The question is, who is Dr. Shakirah Miller? Not what did Dr. Shakirah Miller do, but who are you as an educator?
Oh well. I'm more of a coach than anything, I believe, and that's the reason why I sought out those various certifications. When it comes to supporting leaders, I love leadership. So I think I've always been a leader. My mom has always instilled certain activities that required me to be a leader, put me in those activities. I've had various qualities that exhibited this leadership, and it was natural for me. And I've always been bossy, according to my brother. I've always played the teacher. Never knew that I was going to be a teacher, but I've always been like a nurturer, caretaker. So for me, Shakirah, outside of Dr. Miller, Shakirah, I'm always the one who wants to coach. I want to grow people. I want to help people. That's who I am as an individual. So I think I was supposed to be an accountant because I love mathematics so much.
Yeah.
But who I evolved into, I took a psychology class and I was just like, oh, I love this. Took an accounting class. I said, I can't do this forever. I can't see me doing this. And I've always been, again, that teacher. My brother, he passed away, I used to have to play teacher. I was Miss Miller, the teacher for him. And I've always been that person. So when it naturally came and I naturally evolved into this individual who wanted to teach, who wanted to nurture, who wanted to grow people. And I think that's who I am.
I love it. It resonated with me so much because it made me think of me. That big building on Broad Street across from the Newark Library, it used to be called Mutual Benefit Life. I worked there when I graduated from Kane, and I don't mind admitting this. I seldom did the work. I was doing all this reading of African American history, and what I would do is I would come to work with a book, make photocopies of certain pages, put the photocopies on all the desks and in the cubicles of the people that worked on the floor with me, and then I say, read this, and then I'm gonna come back to get your thoughts in about a week, right? And I'm like, and I'm being paid to do this, right? I'm supposed to be an insurance guy, and that's what I was doing. So I said, I need to be in a classroom teaching, and that led to my transition to becoming a teacher, right? Because I said, this is not for me. There's nothing about this that I love. Dr. Lott-Velez, I got the same question, just extensive bio, phenomenal achievements in your bio. But now I want to ask the question. I know what you've accomplished, but I want to ask it, and for the benefit of the audience, who is Dr. Samantha Lott-Velez?
A whole lot. But let me just at least start off by saying, like, a lot of times when, I share my bio with people, I always put the tagline at the top. I'm a parent who leads in education. And the reason why I say that is because I want people to understand that no matter what position I'm playing at the table, I'm looking at this work as a parent, not just for my children, but for all children. So whatever I do in schools is to ensure that our children, our students sitting in our schools, get the best that they can get. And so I want to just tell you a little bit about my story around how that tagline or what I share with people came to be. My start in this work of education started as a parent. I was a Head Start parent. And if you know anything about Head Start, you would know that the majority of the children, usually 90% or more of the students sitting in Head Start programs, are family members, are from families that are considered economically disadvantaged or living at or below the poverty level. So at a very young age, I was a teen mom, and I had a son, and he came on today, and I put him in a Head Start program on Bergen Street, the corner of Bergen and Lyons, Greater Abyssinian Baptist Church. And it was in a church basement. And that church basement, that program in that church basement through the North Preschool Council changed my life. And because of those teachers there who saw me as a young parent, Miss Neal, they took me under their wing, and they saw something in me, and they told me to join their parent committee that they had. And I joined that committee. And from joining that committee, I was invited to an area parent committee. And I joined that committee. And from joining that one of the ladies there saw something in me, and she took me to the policy council meetings with her. And as a result of that, I was then introduced to another program called the Abbott Leadership Institute. What I didn't know, and now the Abbott Leadership Institute were advocates, like, you did not mess with these people, they know their stuff. And it was actually in its inaugural stage. And I came in and I was the youngest member in there under the guidance and mentorship of Mr. Junius Williams.
The man.
The man. And coming in the room, when I saw him, I automatically felt this sense of relief, because not only was he running that program, but he used to be my next door neighbor when I was a child. So this is how, I'm a spiritual person. So for me, I'm like, everything that happens in your life is very intentional. So somehow I ended up back under his wing. I played with his children as a child, and now I was with him and he was guiding me. And I was learning from him, and I was learning from some of the greatest people, the greatest advocates in the city of Newark, on how to be a great advocate for my child and for other people's children. And so as a part of that process, he decided that he was going to bring me to the state. When I said that I wrote state regulations, it was because he put me in that position to be able to do that. And that's what mentorship does. It puts people in position to be able to learn and grow, but also give back. And from sitting on that committee, you had legislators, there were superintendents, board members. I was one of two parents. All right. I was just a parent from Newark who was on the Abbey leadership group. And then there was another parent who was from Passaic, and she was a board member. And we were in the room with legislators and really high level people making decisions about the Abbey regulations. And we were assessing the current impact of them and rewriting them, right? And giving our feedback. In that room was the superintendent of Newark Board of Education, Dr. Marion Bolden. And at that time, I was working for the YMCA in East Orange. They had a partnership with the East Orange School District, and I was a teacher there. And, we answered questions, and during a break, Dr. Bolden came over to me and she asked me where I worked at, and I told her. And she said, would you be interested in working for Newark Public Schools? And I was like, oh my goodness, like that was my dream job, And so I said, absolutely. So she scheduled me, she arranged for me to have an interview with the late Vernell Ferran, one of my greatest mentors. And so I went and I met with Miss Ferran. And the interview was very unique. Like, she told me to meet her at a cafe near the central office. And we sat down and we talked at like a cafe table, the same type of conversation like that we're having now, just regular conversation about who I was, also about my passion for the work. And she talked about herself, and it was just like talking to an auntie. And then we went upstairs, and while we were on the elevator, I'm like, okay, here's the real part of the interview, right? And while we were on the elevator, she said, by the way, you have the job. And I was like, what? Wow. And so she was actually taking over a preschool in the city of Newark. And as a part of an intervention strategy, she was going to serve as their director, and she was hiring teachers to come in with her to transform that school. So parent of preschool, now I'm coming in as a teacher to help the district transform a provider location. So just remember those things, right? And so I went in with her, and we did really great work together. But she was not the one to play with. Like, while I'm in there instructing, she would walk in my classroom and on the spot, give me that on the spot feedback. I loved and adored how she trained me. She was very hard on me, but she poured in me 100% with love. And I learned a lot from her. After about a year, around that time, a new school was opening up in the South Ward of Newark, Belmont Runyon Elementary School. And I was able to get an interview with the principal there, thanks to Ms. Ferran, sharing information about me. And I started my career in Newark Board of Education as a preschool teacher at the Belmont Runyon Elementary School when it first opened the doors to its new building, because it had pre-existed, but in an older building. And now it was a new school. And that's how my trajectory started. And I say all of that because it started with me as a parent, and people saw something in me that I was still learning about myself, and they didn't just let me be. They poured into me. So that's who I am as an educator, a person that observes people. I like to study them and see what they have going on. Like, sometimes I sit quiet, I laugh to myself sometimes, and I just watch my people. And then I figure out ways that I can best serve them. Even sometimes when they may not like it at first, eventually they always learn. It's a labor of love. But I found out my best ways to serve them because I only really aim to see the good in people, because that's what we need in this world and in this country. In the same way, I expect my people to do that for children, right? And so I expect my people to do that for my children and also for all the children that are being served in the city and across basically this world.
I love that. I felt like I was, because I recognize a lot of the names that you said, or actually know a lot of the names that you said. I felt like I was on a historical journey, and when you mentioned Abbott, naturally I thought of people like Wilhelmina Holder, right?
Yeah.
Who was so influential in my trajectory just by her words, because I've never seen her and she didn't praise me. And I didn't even work in Newark, right? But at least not in Newark Public Schools. But every time I saw her, she's just giving me this praise. And we need that, particularly when you're in leadership. You need somebody saying something good about you sometime, right? And I knew that I could always rely on her to come with something positive for me, So I appreciate everything you just said. Let me holler at the fam real quick before I go to Dr. Miller. To the fam out there, I'll ask the question that was just rooted in everything that Dr. Lott-Velez said. Who are you speaking life into? I'm just talking to somebody out there. Who's benefiting by the fact that you show up to work every day, right? Or who's benefiting by the fact that you wake up in the morning, right? Is there somebody that because they're in your space, you're in their space, you cross paths, that they're better because of something about you, something you said, something you modeled, whatever it may be. But I certainly want to be that person for other people, not just people I know, but even people I don't know. I think that matters, in terms of just the whole circle of life. But let me go to you, Dr. Miller. Still staying consistent with the bio. And I think this will be the last one I want to ask you relative to that. But where is your drive, your determination, your dedication? Where is that coming from? Because I can appreciate how difficult the work is, how challenging the work can be. So where is that coming from that has sustained you in this thing called leadership for so long?
Well, I think I would start. I grew up, I'm from 3 different housing projects in Newark. Hayes Homes, then Hyatt Court, and Pennington Court. Shout out to all of them, because let me tell you, each of those housing projects were home to me, and it created who Shakirah was. As a growing up, being a tomboy, fighting, yes, but also having the best opportunities to just be with my friends, my family, my loved ones. I grew up with a lot of wonderful women. This is Women History Month, and men, but the women in my life, I mean, my teachers, Miss Smalls, Miss Jones, Miss Pavlov from Hawkins Street School, Miss Richardson, even Miss Green, one of my preschool teachers who worked for the board. They always instilled in me different like character traits about, making sure that I stay focused, making sure I stay determined about, whatever goals I set forth. My mom, my Aunt Sherry, my Aunt Joyce, like they were wonderful. My cousins, they were just so wonderful in making sure that, Shakirah, if you're going to do track, you're going to have to make sure that you do this, that, and the third. You're staying committed to whatever it is. They instilled in me those values. And then so as I became, this young lady, they saw something in me. And that's how I wound up going to Blair Academy. But then again, as you said, when you read my bio, I always returned home because Newark is home.
Yeah.
And so that's who I am. I'm determined, and it's always been ingrained in me. So when I became a teacher, I was hired at a job fair by Lydia Silver and Carmen Ruiz. She was my principal. And I remember she didn't hire me. She said to me, I thought you were going to be a problem, but you turned out to be a really good teacher. I said, is that supposed to be a comment? Or am I supposed to be offended? But it was She saw something in me. She saw I was determined to make sure when I came back home, the students I educated, they knew that there was something outside of their little perimeter of the North Ward at that time. I knew that I needed to have them see it. I need them to experience. I need them to be exposed to it. I need them to know that it existed. After Marin, I was given an opportunity to impact high school students at Barringer High School. I was just like, okay, I did not like high school. I'm gonna tell you that from the door. And it wasn't about the students. The students, I loved my students. And we would go back and forth, but it was trying to get the teachers at the time to really understand that professional development was essential. We knew you had gifts. Let's figure out how we're going to grow those gifts. It was a push and pull initially. But then I loved doing what I did. I loved being a leader. I knew that I was like, all right, what's next for me? Yeah. Summer school principal. And I met Dr. Marion Bolden, who came to Barringer High School, and I had one sit down with her, and she placed me at Rafael Hernandez. She gave me the exposure that I needed because I didn't want to be a leader who was just a disciplinarian at the time. That's all I did. And I knew that that was not the leader I wanted to be. She felt that she could come, and I was like thankful that she talked to me, heard me. It was essential that she heard me because, I've worked with women leaders, particularly Black women leaders, who meant me no good. And I'm not going to talk about them. But then I had some of them, most of the Black women in my life and the leaders, when I tell you they empowered me, starting with my mom and my family and my cousins, to these women who educated me. Dr. Glenda Johnson Green, Miss Nelms. And then when I left Newark, it was Dr. Neely Hackett. She was the superintendent at the time. I learned so much under this woman in such a short span of time. When I tell you an excellent leader, she's somebody you may want to have on your show because she's
on the list.
Is she?
I haven't seen her in a long time, but she's on my list.
She changed the trajectory of what my leadership would begin to look like. Because I've been in Newark for 14 years. So Newark is all I knew. And this type of leadership is all I knew. So, but I was determined to grow. I was determined to be good at whatever it is God was steering me to where I needed to be. And she changed the trajectory of what my leadership and my coaching really looked like. And so when I was able to go to Roselle and then be able to come back, I'm a different type of leader. I really am. And I was determined not to, and I'll continue to be determined not to, not be defiant in any way or follow, but I want to follow a path where I know that coaching and developing people, bringing them to their fullest potential is what I love. I absolutely, absolutely love that. I would pour every resource into you to be the best educator possible. That is a teacher, that is a student, that is a principal, that is a vice principal. I'm coaching a few of them now, and I want to pour into you. And I'm determined to make sure. So it's always been something that's been ingrained in me. And that's why I'm doing what I do. And I love it. I love coaching. I love leadership. That's the way that determination and focus comes in. There's so many wonderful women in my life, men too, but since this is Women's History Month, the women in my life, when I tell you they have built me up and poured into me, like our former deputy, Nicole Johnson, it was like, oh, I had so many wonderful, and then my team, I can't even forget. It's so many people. Principal Kalele, I can't even stop to think about all the people because it's not just me. It's all of the women, my team, my Southwest, I call them still Southwest, Samantha, and I always joke about that. My East Central principals, but my school leadership team. They've been with me for years since maybe when I first became a principal in 2007. They build me up and I love them so much. So I continue to grow because I'm surrounded by so many brilliant people, wonderful people who help me. And Samantha, we talk all the time, and Maria, my assistant superintendent team, it's always maintaining that communication and those connections to be able to say, hey, I need to vent right now. Hey, I need a coaching session right now. Hey, I just need to talk. Hey, I just need to listen. Sometimes I'm just listening because I know what they need. But we pour into each other, and it continues to make sure, okay, I'm going to make sure this is what God has ordained. This is what I'm going to do. And I'll make sure I fulfill that. So it's that continuous growth for me.
That's powerful. And you know, one of the things that really stands out with the two of you is just the tribute, the paying homage to the women that came before you. You know, that matters. And I'll say to the fam one more time before I go to you, Dr. Lott-Velez, are you paying tribute? Because sometimes we get so caught up into our own individual accomplishments that we forget that there were others who paved the way, right? There were others who saw in us what we didn't see in ourselves, right? And certainly I'm a product of that. And so we can never forget them, right? And when we have those opportunities to publicly let other people know of these people that they may not have ever heard of, but yet paved the way for us to be where we are, I think that matters, that we do that acknowledgement. Good stuff. Let me go. Same question for you before I start differentiating these questions. Dr. Lott-Velez, your drive, your determination, your dedication, and I might even add your fire. Where's that coming from?
My mama. It is coming from my mother. You know, we are our learned behaviors, right? After we are born, we go through experiences in life that can have an impact on our genetics and who we are. But at the end of the day, we are born with something that is intrinsically given to us through our parents and the experiences that we have with them and just who they are. And I've had the distinct honor of being the daughter of Gwendolyn Brock, and I've experienced so much from my mom watching her. You know, I've grown up. You know, that's just who I am. I am an observer, and I've observed my mom in action. She's very dedicated as a parent. She started her job as a young person at working at Verizon, and I think it was called Bell. It was called something else before, but she was there from the beginning, and she stayed in that job until she retired. She consistently is there for family, and so while those are things that are happening on the personal level side, and not necessarily things that I'm seeing directly from work, the same quality still exists, right? Being committed to whoever are important to you and to the ideas that are important to you, putting in the work. Like, you can't say you committed to something, but you're not doing the work to make it be amazing, right? So putting in that work, practicing what you preach, right? So, you know, in many instances, we say things, but do we actually show up in action with the things that we're saying? And so I watch my mother do that for family. I watch my mom do that at her job. And so a lot of her habits I pick up, like even at my job, you know, my principals will tell you, and anybody that works with me will tell you that I call them all by their last name. I get that from my mama. So, like, you know, I call my principals, hey Giles, hey Lopes, hey Terrell. Hey, they all have first names, but I call them by their last names because I observed my mom as a child when I would go with her to work. They all called each other by their last name. So it's something that I observed, you know, adults doing on the job. And as a habit, I've picked it up. But that's just one, you know, little technical thing. But just who I am as a person, like, of course, I've had all these other people pour into me, but it started with my mother from the womb till when I came out and everything that she did. So I just want to give a big shout out to my mom. There, like Dr. Miller said, there are so many people that have poured into me as well. And we can just have a session talking about them, right? And how each of them poured into us and how it has impacted our work. But I do not believe that the universe makes any mistakes, right? And again, I am a spiritual person. So the fact that Dr. Miller and I are so connected and close to each other is very much intentional. And like, even when she mentioned Dr. Neely Hackett being one of her greatest, Dr. Neely Hackett gave me my first job in education. My first job in education was as a substitute teacher in Irvington Public Schools. All right there at Union Middle School. And I, at the time, had lived around the corner from there. And that was my first job. Wow. And not realizing, and guess who was the principal there? Dr. Neely Hackett. And she later on became the superintendent of that school district. But I would walk, like, at the time, I didn't know Dr. Miller, you know, but the people that have had an impact on us have had an impact on both of us. So we have been blessed and ordained to meet people that we know, or that the universe and our you know, our God knows, will pour into us. Okay. And it never stopped. So my passion again comes from my experience as a young mom, my experience as a teen mom, my experience in early childhood education, where you're receiving children that are coming in and they're like little sponges, like they're coming in fresh, and you can really cultivate amazing learners because they're coming in ready for you. And going through that experience and watching them grow was something that really had an impact on my life. What I remember is being at one of my schools, and at the time I was a preschool teacher, and I was in a staff meeting with the principal, and the principal was talking about the test scores. And you know me, like, you know, sometimes I have a big mouth. You know, I've been told, like, sometimes you just need to just don't say anything. And I'm like, no, I'm going to say something, because if I'm at the table, you have me there as an advisor. In the moment that I am no longer able to speak and advise and share my thoughts, then I shouldn't be at that table. So I always speak how I feel, and I always speak up for people who may not be present to speak up for themselves. But we were in a staff meeting, and the principal was talking about test scores for 3rd, 4th, and up. And I raised my hand. And again, I was a preschool teacher at the time. And I said, I don't understand why children in the 3rd grade are not meeting the expectations for reading and writing and math, because when they leave out of preschool, they're reading. So what is going on that by 3rd grade, they can no longer read? Now, so as a teacher, I was upset. Like, wait a minute, we poured in a lot of work. I know my colleagues in kindergarten, like, we all work together. We have a vertical team. Like, what's going on? Right. And that Friday, I was called into the principal's office and told that I would be teaching 4th grade on Tuesday. So you want to know? We're going to show you. Right. So at that time, the 4th grade classroom was overcrowded. And they told every teacher to pick 7 students to go into the new classroom. So if you're a teacher and you had the opportunity to pick the 7 students that you wanted to move out of your classroom, who do you think you're going to pick? And so those were the students that I received. I had 21 students that were selected to go into the classroom with me. And I'm going to say after about 2 days, I went to visit the school social worker. And I said, can you please tell me something about all of my students? Because I was going through an experience. And she told me. And let me just say, that gave me ammunition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This is what I have. Let me show you something. And those students, they worked so hard. Like, I had a heart-to-heart conversation with them. And they were children. And I shut my door and I had a heart-to-heart. And I was like, you know what? If you ever thought that you were counted out, you are counted in today. You are counted in today. You are going to achieve. And that year, like, I had almost as many children passing as all of my other colleagues in the school, but I had the highest passing student in the whole school. And she gave me a lot of problems that year, but her mom and I, we were partners in helping her, and she had the highest test scores in the school. I'm gonna say this to you though, because this is something I share out with my team. When I said I had just as many passing as my colleagues, just as many was like 3 or 4 students. That's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. But it was acceptable because that's what was going on. I'm at the point, the system was not accepting failure, but it was being normalized. It wasn't out of the ordinary anymore. And I am not about failure being ordinary, not for our children.
Yeah.
We have to achieve, we have to ensure that they're leaving out of grade levels, mastering grade level expectations, that they're leaving out of elementary school, ready for high school, that they're leaving out of high school, ready for life and career. It is a non-negotiable. And so at that time, I only had my P3 cert and I needed to get my elementary certification. So I enrolled in this pipeline program that the North Public Schools at the time had. And the leader of that pipeline program was Miss Daisy Yarbrough. And she was a professor for Montclair State University, very similar to the work that our staff, Office of Staff Development under the leadership of Mr. Brewster is doing right now, where we had people from our district training our staff in cohorts. So I was in a cohort with Daisy, and she did not play. Her main quote to us was, "It is the teacher that makes the difference." And so you know what I started doing? I started being the teacher. I stopped being the implementer of a curriculum program, and I started being the teacher. Because at the time, people would say, "Oh, you're doing such a great job with hardcore brace." Like, my literacy coach was happy with me because everything she told me to do, I did. But at the end of the day, I was producing 3 and 4 students passing, and it was normalized. But under Daisy's watch, under Daisy's learning and teaching, I was able to learn how to study children for myself, study them, study how well they're learning, and be responsive to ensuring that their learning is being progressed while they're in my classroom through the way I plan and in the way I provide instruction. That was the shift for me. And the book from the program became a tool and not the teacher. And it changed. And then all of a sudden, my score started skyrocketing. And that is what it took. It took, again, somebody to pour into me and tell me to do something differently. And at the time, all of us in her cohort, we were like, "Oh, we used to talk about her after class." And she know we did. We told her later, but she was working us. We said, "Does this lady not understand that we have a job? We're not here full time. Like, we have to go back and work every day." And we talked and talked. But let me tell you something. If I was to just lay out the names of the people in that cohort, you will see the impact that Daisy Yarbrough had on all of us just from our time being with her. And one of the things that she did closing that program, this is for anybody that's running pipeline programs. One of the things that she did that I think was so instrumental was, at the end of the program, or towards the end, part of our grade was she came in with a team of people and she visited us. So it wasn't just like you sit in the class and you hand in projects to her and you make things look all cute for her. No, at the end, she and a cohort of people came in and they visited our classrooms and she gave us feedback, and that feedback was raw. And she also highlighted best practices happening within our cohort. The best thing that ever happened to me instructionally and shifting my lens on how I provided instruction. So yes, dedication, because I've been trained up by dedicated people who took failure was not an option in their eyes. Not only did they pour that into me, but they taught me how to make sure that failure is not an option in anybody's eyes that I work with and that I support and serve.
Powerful response.
Mhm.
Powerful. Let me keep it moving. Let's talk about the assistant principal. You all have heard me say, and probably everybody on this thread that's been on here, this is part of the fam, has heard me say that in my strongest contention, the assistant principalship is the most misunderstood and underutilized position in all of education. And in the work I do when I'm in schools on school days, as opposed to doing workshops and so forth, but being in those schools, I get to see it with my own eyes. So I want to start with you, Dr. Miller. You served as an assistant principal. You probably led assistant principals as a principal, and you certainly lead assistant principals in your capacity of SLT leader. My question is very simple. What are your thoughts about that statement? The assistant principalship, the most misunderstood and underutilized position in all of education. What says you?
I believe that to be true because they're not utilizing it in the correct way. Our assistant principals in Newark, their vice principals, they do a lot of the grunt work. I remember at Barringer having to do the grunt work, and I found myself being the disciplinarian. My experience with, when I first started as the vice principal at Barringer, I was excited because my principal, Carmen Ruiz, she said, you know what, Shakirah, you're going to take the whole freshman academy. I said, what do you want me to do? I had to run it as if it was my own little school. Mm-hmm. So I had the opportunity to lead over 500 students, about 75 staff at the time. And professional learning communities was just coming to the fold, at least when we got there. So I was able to create that in small learning communities. And so professional development is at the heart of what I love. So I was able to do this at Barringer. Yes, okay. Mm-hmm. So I had to get to the meat of what is going to change in these classrooms instructionally. How are we going to make sure our students are, that we have better student outcomes? As the vice principal, I found myself doing the operations, a lot more of them. The discipline. And then the instructional pieces came when it was time to do observations. So they weren't, it was about trying to figure out how to plan this. When I was the vice principal, leading the teachers, leading the professional learning communities and creating this and attempting to develop them, all of these other, for lack of a better word, things came into play. You had to make sure that the discipline was the biggest problem, at least in my experience. But student outcomes was not until it was test time, and it was this few weeks where you had to start test prep. I was the testing coordinator also at Barringer, so most of my year was spent testing, and we had a large bilingual population, so it was access. I think it was in the high school at HSPA and the portfolios. It was a bunch of other assessments that went along with it. So my year was spent doing a lot of operations rather than getting to the instructional part of it. And I think that's why I disliked high school so much. And I couldn't figure out how, for me, to get back to the instructional part of it. I really loved instruction, and I just couldn't figure out how to get there. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what was instilled in me and what my passion was. I wanted to get into the classrooms. Going into the classrooms now as the assistant superintendent, it's my happy place. I want to be able to see instruction because I know that's where you really change the outcomes for our students. Couldn't get it. How you actually improve instruction with the teachers. I was just with one of my principals conducting a co-observation to help coach a teacher, improve. She could be a highly effective teacher, but she couldn't get certain aspects together because everything was just operational. Where was her planning? So it's about trying to, I don't know how to balance that because of the various systems that we have to put in place, operational. How many, especially during COVID, how many Chromebooks do we have? Is it one-to-one? Is it, of course, we're going to track attendance, but it was all this, again, operational tasks that needed to be completed rather than how do we improve instruction? Because we know getting into the classrooms is the real way to improve instruction.
Mhm.
As the assistant principal, I believe if we utilize them in different ways, you have so many potential leaders in your building. It's about not just delegating, but it's about figuring out how to utilize them best. And I believe that they are not utilized efficiently enough in certain schools. Some schools have it, they got it together. Other schools, it's just not working. And the principal takes on so much of that, or they don't know how to delegate. I see it as I coach in different ways. Like I coach outside of our district as well. So I see it in different aspects. But I wish we could figure out how to utilize the APs more, especially based on the population of students each school has. Because you have some schools that have large autistic populations, large LDM, LDS, populations that they don't have enough support to give for that population of students, because it is a challenge to work with that, especially if you are a school that has such a large population of students, and then the large bilingual population. So I think we need more resources and supports for our assistant principals. And I believe that if we get to strategize differently, it will be something that where the assistant principals can just, because they're going to be our future leaders. They're going to be our next set of principals. So when we have them, or at least when we have them in Newark, we only have them 5 times a year, every other month. And I mean, we want to PD our VPs. We ask for it. So now it's not having the micromanagement impact us in order for us to successfully know what each and every one of our schools lead. We lead 14 different schools. And this is Newark, because that's my lens right now. We lead 14 different schools. Some schools have 4 VPs, some have 1. But if we have our VPs to really give them all the professional development that we know impacts their schools and know what is a best practice that can improve student outcomes, I think will be even better. So I do think that they are being underutilized, or not underutilized, not utilized in the best capacity based on, top down and micromanagement.
I love it. I want you to I want to stay with you, and I want you to wear solely your assistant superintendent's hat on this one.
Okay.
As the leader of your team, and I want to go right to this quote that I left on the screen. Arcella Austri, who's one of our fam here. She's long-term fam of the AP and New Principals Academy, and she said, "This is my life right now." What you said, testing and discipline while craving to get into classrooms. As assistant superintendent and one who has assistant principals who lean on you for your leadership, I want to ask you, and I'm going to ask Dr. Lott-Velez to respond to her. But here's my specific ask. Take this young lady and tell her what she needs to do differently going into next week, inclusive of perhaps a conversation with her superior, with her principal. But I'm giving y'all a lot here because she's fat. But how to approach the principal, because we know that all relationships are different. So what can she do so that this changes? Matter of fact, if y'all could be patient with me for 1 second, let me just say this to you, because I'm going to assume that Arcella supervises a percentage of the staff, the teaching staff. So if that's her life, that means those teachers, if they're growing, it's not because of her. They're growing because of other dynamics, such as professional learning, her pursuit of her own personal professional learning, that type of thing. But they're not learning because of her, if that's her reality. Talk to Arcella about what she can do to become the assistant principal that she needs to be, which will create a better path for her to become the principal that she must be? I'll start with you, Dr. Miller.
My first recommendation would be to have a conversation with her principal, to be very honest with you, and say, hey, okay, I have this testing schedule. We know that testing is upon us, at least in New Jersey, and you have all these disciplinary problems or disciplinary issues that you have to deal with. I would talk to the principal, mapping out. Don't go into any space. When I was a principal, if anyone encountered me or asked me a question, you have to have data with you, because I need to know that you're really dealing with the discipline. I really need to know what you're dealing with when it comes to testing. And then a possible solution, because the principal doesn't know all of the solutions, all the answers to everything. So if you thought about, I have this testing situation, I have this many number of weeks that I have to get through this, I have this number of or if you have discipline referrals from the teachers, give her the data points and then go in with a possible solution. I remember as a principal, and I'm thinking about when the teachers, they came with various discipline problems. I had this wonderful book. And if anyone who was at Miller Street and you know the name of that book, please put it in the chat. And I can't remember what it was, but it is a book full of, and it had different ones, one for interventions, and then they had another book for behaviors. And it offered you would look up the specific behavior, and then the teacher would have like anywhere between 10 to 30 different strategies per behavior that the teacher would be able to input or input into the document for any INRS referral, or actually implement the various behaviors. I cannot remember the name of the book, but I tell you, I bought one for every single teacher, and they were required, because I can't, if you relinquish all of your power as a teacher, if you're going to send every student to the vice principal when it comes. There you go, the Prim book. Thank you, Alicia Lee Ellis, the Prim book. And they also had one for behavior.
She ain't the only one on here.
Yes, that book was a lifesaver for some of my teachers, because they didn't know, especially my new teachers who they were brand new. And let's keep it 100. The educator, the teaching programs don't always tell you how to deal with discipline in the classroom. So those books, I gave one to every teacher. They were required to tell me that they implemented at least 5 of the strategies. You were given 30 to help this student. And it actually slowed down what was a significant number of referrals coming to the office. And that could potentially help you. And it's like giving them professional development on how to use the book. And when the teachers feel empowered with something that they can use, they will, because no one wants to relinquish power in their classroom. At least I know I didn't. And so you'll have this book that will that's providing you thousands of strategies to be able to help you teacher in the classroom. That was one way that we decreased the number of discipline referrals in my school when I was a principal. In addition, you have child study team members, you have social work, if you have a school counselor, you have so many resources inside of your school that you can utilize, because everyone has to play a role in helping, this whole child become a better child and deal with whatever that discipline problem or challenge may be for that student. And then again, as far as testing, mapping out that calendar of what it's supposed to look like, and then asking for help. Hey, can someone help me during these hours? And maybe someone help me during these hours, at least with the planning, because I know there's a secure, like a security protocol that must be followed, but at least the assistance during the time of the planning. But a conversation with your principal is definitely needed. That's what I would recommend.
I appreciate everything you just said to her. Dr. Lott-Velez, again, this is just me, the assistant principalship, the most misunderstood and underutilized position in all of education. Give me your thoughts on that. And also same request I made of Dr. Miller. Talk to Arcella, and what can she do to change that reality?
Absolutely. So I agree with you, Principal Kafele. It is the most misunderstood. And so one of the ways that we eliminate that misunderstanding is in professional development and empowering our vice principals. And that's part of the work that we do as assistant superintendents. We empower them. we have the distinct honor of being able to have a portion of time where we can do that. And I know the work that we've done is planning on how to do that. So one of the things that we did in our SLT meetings over the last couple of years was ensure that it had an instructional lens, right? And so when vice principals are meeting with us, it's not just about operations. It is about them going back into their toolkits around how they are the instructional experts in their buildings. And we teamed the vice principals all up based off of either content that they led or based off of grade levels that they led, whatever grade span they led. And they have opportunity to communicate and collaborate with one another around, I would say, systems and even issues that are similar, because they're either leading in a similar content or leading in a similar grade span. One of the things that I did recently with my vice principals, well, two things I want to talk about. One, about 2 years ago, we had an organization come in and just teach them the behavioral expectations for high stakes testing, because we know that teachers are working hard. Like, I have never been in any of my schools and walked into a classroom and a classroom teacher isn't working hard. And that's a testament to my amazing principals, my amazing vice principals, all of the support staff, and the amazing teachers that are before our amazing students. I've never been in a classroom where that has happened. And if I ever go into a classroom and that has not happened, and that has happened or will happen, that teacher won't be there for long, because that is the commitment and dedication we have. But I have never had that happen. So one of the things that I've shared with my principals recently is that we have some teachers working really hard on some of the wrong things. And how do we be empowered enough sometimes to say no to things that we know are not in the best interest of our teachers, because it may be too much leaning in the operations of the work versus the instructional side of the work. So, one of the things that I say is like, listen, sometimes you have to go against the grain. If you get results, nobody's going to bother you. So you can rock the boat, but you better get results, right? And so part of this work is training up our vice principals to be that advisor to the principal. You're there to assist the principal, but a good principal is going to hire people that can also advise them and give them knowledge on things that they may not be able to see or do at that time. That's why they build a team that can do that. And so you need to know instruction. So we had this organization come in so that they can train vice principals on the behaviors that are expected for students during our state's assessment, which we consider a high stakes assessment. We don't want teachers teaching to the test, but if you're going to take any type of high stakes test, you usually study what the test is looking for and how to respond to those questions. And so that organization came in and taught our vice principals that. We had a bridge to practice. Not only did they learn about it, but then their students had to engage in learning and take assessments, and they had to bring those assessments back to their meetings, and they had to analyze the student responses. So then they took on the lens of the teacher so that they can give better feedback to teachers. And so I'm sharing all this because instructionally, and your book really speaks about like reminding them that they are the instructional leaders, and how do we get back to instruction? Our system has to allow them to get back into instruction. And so that's what we built. That year we had record achievement. All of our schools increased in literacy, and all but 2 schools increased in mathematics according to the district, but according to the state, it was all but 1. And so I want to make sure that we are building systems, right? And make sure that those out there who are wondering, build the system to empower your vice principal to understand that they're not a highly paid assistant. They are, in fact, your instructional leader, and have charged them to and empowered them to lead in the areas that they are in. It's very much like the mayor. The mayor has a city to run, but guess what? He empowers his council people to lead in the wards that they're in. So your vice, the principal is the mayor, all of the vice principals, their council people, then they have to make sure that their area of the city, their area of the school is together. A little figurative language for you, right? So at the end of the day, they run the shit. And so I tell my vice principals that when I go in to meet with principals, I meet with them, but during my coaching sessions, which are responsive to the observations that I give my principals, I observe them. And then based off of that data, that's when I walk in and coach them around that observation data, because it's a coaching tool, and not every observation is an evaluation. It's a coaching tool. You get evaluated at the end of the year. So my premise and my lens is every time I observe you is so that I can help you get better, so that by the end of the year, you're at your best. So when I sit in and I coach principals, at some point I bring in their full team. Why do I do that? It's very intentional. There's no I in team. This principal cannot run the show alone. So I tell them, bring in your team with you. Bring in as many people that has influence over your instruction. And in my smaller schools, that's hard to do because they need somebody to run the schools. But I have some pretty large schools, so they're able to at least bring in their vice principals. And in some cases, they were able to bring in their coaches. And we talk about it, and I tell them, if I'm walking into a third grade classroom and you're the third grade VP, or if I'm looking at English language arts and you're head over English language arts, I'm also looking at you, not just your principal, all right? Because you're a team. Everybody in the building is a team. So to the educator that left the message, I want to say to you, number one, remain steadfast in what drove you and gave you the passion to do the work, and figure out how to take that and transform it into whatever you have to do. So for example, you mentioned training, you mentioned testing, and you mentioned discipline. And Dr. Miller did an outstanding job at just talking about getting to the root cause and correcting it. So that was one of the main things I had on my list. Get to the root cause. Like, I understand you're feeling burned. You may be feeling a little burned out from it, but what is the root cause for there being a problem? And so she talked about that. The other part is, who are the people in your building? Everybody needs to be clear on everybody's roles and responsibilities. And a lot of times I see a lot of misguidance occur, not just in schools, but also in central office, because people are not clear on everybody's roles and responsibilities. So let's start at the school level. Does everyone in the building know who everyone is and what they do for children, right? Because everything we do, we're doing for them. Is everyone clear? Okay, so you're having discipline issues. Who else in your building assists with discipline, and how do they assist? So Dr. Miller talked about the processes that we use in our school district around intervention referral teams. Some schools have guidance counselors, maybe social workers. I'm not sure what your dynamic is in your school, but who are those people? And if you were hired to do that job, then you're that person. So I don't really know all of the details, but were you hired to do that job? We have to be very clear on what are the roles and responsibilities for people, and bringing a job description to the table. Like, why am I here, right? So even in the conversation with the principal, just sharing how you feel and being transparent, but being very clear in asking the question, what is it that you want me to do, and what am I being held accountable for? Around the testing piece, it is very important that we plan appropriately. A lot of times when people struggle with testing is for a couple of reasons. One, you're new to it and you're trying to figure it out along the way. Maybe a test is new and you're trying to figure it out. So something is new. Or two, you have to work on your planning, right? And so if you've been doing this for multiple years, like, what's your plan? Do you have a test coordinator implementation plan, right? And so I'm a systems person, so it's like, what's your plan? So if you're coming to meet with me as my vice principal, first of all, I want you to give me your plan for the full year. And you're going to write that plan at the start of the year. And it's going to be based off of the testing and assessment calendar that your school district gave you. You're going to come up with what is the plan for the year, and how am I going to carry things out month to month, what is going to be the expectations for me when I'm checking in with my principal on a monthly basis and on a quarterly basis. And we're going to set that record straight from the beginning. Then when I meet with you, I'm going to ask you for an update. So you're never going to really feel overwhelmed because we're going to work on it together. Your execution and reporting to me needs to be so good that you won't have a problem. So I'm going to say, start off with that. Set up a good plan. And even if no one is asking you for one, create one. And then when you go to meet with your principal, if you have that opportunity, share your updates on your own. Then it's going to become the norm. Like, it's going to be expected. But it's going to give you a sense of relief. Then you know what's going to happen next year. You can implement that same plan. And you may have some nuances given, a new population of children, but you're going to implement the same plan. So you'll have a system for testing implementation. One of the things that I always tell to my team is structure influences behavior. So if you want things to get better, you have to set up a structure that is going to influence the behavior in your building. If you want discipline to get better or student behavior to get better in your school, you have to set up the structure that's going to influence that. And as the lead of that, it seems like you're the lead, then you should take the lead in setting up that structure and sharing your idea with your principal. So Dr. Miller said it very clearly. When you go in that meeting, don't just go in there complaining. You need to have a solution. So your solution should be your plan, even if it's a preliminary one. These are some things that I'm thinking and brainstorming. What are your thoughts on that, principal? And get their feedback and then come back. You have time. Next year, start off strong. Start off strong. The fact that you're showing up here this morning shows us here that you're passionate and you want to continue to do well. So you're going to do well as long as you believe in yourself enough to do it. So this year, make the plan. You start off strong and you won't have that same feeling of anxiety that you have right now. I don't hear you, Principal.
I don't hear you, Principal Capella.
Y'all couldn't hear me talking to the wife, right? I said, this is a master class. And y'all giving a lot of information, and Kimberly may say, and this is free, right? So listen, I cut off some of my questions because I still want to try to get to your talking points. But when we go off mic, I want to schedule a part. We got to do a part 2, right? Because there's just so much to talk about here. But I still got some questions I do want to ask just because of what I know about the fam that tunes in, right? So let me keep going. This question I'm not going to assign. Just whoever wants to jump in here, jump in here. I'm known to say that the culture of a school, of a building, is a direct reflection of the leadership of that building, right? Now that's just me. Same question I had before. What says you? Whoever wants to jump in here first, go ahead with it.
Samantha, you want to take the lead?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
That's the truth. And it's one of the main reasons that hiring has to be on point, right? Who we hire as principals, we have to hire the best of the best principals. But in addition to that, we have to support and serve them, right? Because the principal sets the tone for the organization. Just like the superintendent sets the tone for a school district, the principal sets the tone for the school at the school level. And so it starts off with that, the school's mission and the vision and the school's core beliefs or values, whatever you call it in your district. What is it that you want to represent as your school? What is your school? What does your school bring to the community? And that process cannot be a process that the principal does alone. So what it does is when you bring the whole group in and have that conversation around what is going to be our mission, what is going to be our vision, what's going to be our core values or belief, people bring their own personal beliefs to the table. And when they see themselves in the school strategic plan, when they see themselves in the school's values and the mission and the vision, they work harder because they believe in it. It's a part of the stages to change, right? When you believe in something, you own it. So one of the things that the principal has to do as the leader is to bring the group together to ensure that they understand that they are part of this organization here, and that there's one mission and there's one vision, and here are our core beliefs to be able to get that done. And here's what we feel about children, and here is how we're going to bring all our personal stuff to the table to make sure that those things get accomplished. And then having check-ins with people. So I think part of this process as a principal is getting to know all of your people. Like, I know all my principals. Like, we talk about the work, but I also talk to my principals about who they are. I was the same way when I ran a department, right? These are things that I learned because people did it for me. And, Dr. Miller talked about our deputy, Nicole T. Johnson. Like, we sit with her and she knows things about us. We know things about her. We have personal relationships. Principal, what is your personal relationship with your staff? It cannot be all work and you don't know anything about your team. You have to have conversation with them. You have to know who they are. You have to know who are the people in the building. So you talk to them. And then after the work starts going into, process, and you start seeing people like feeling a little, maybe overwhelmed or struggling or feeling good, you remind them of who they are. You know how many times I've had to remind people of who they are as a person? Like, yes, this is the work, but don't forget why you're in it. This is who you are. This is what you share with me. This is what I know about you as a human being. And no matter what we are experiencing, you're going to be successful because of who you are. But you can't have that conversation with your team principal if you have not had a conversation with them as at the individual level. If every communication that you're having with them is in a PLC that is only focused on academics, or in a staff meeting where it's the whole group, and you haven't sat down and talked to people one-on-one, it's going to be hard for you to move the agenda in your building. The other thing is, aside from building relationships, you need to definitely make sure that everybody is clear that we're here to make sure that children leave out of this building mastering grade level expectations and prepared to go to the next level in their life. And that's a non-negotiable. And so regardless of whatever you bring to the table personally, that is at the forefront. Our school district has a core value that says children is at the center. Now, our superintendent didn't come up with that on his own. That was a community process that he took us through to get to that point. Now the whole community knows children are at the center. So rather, as an assistant superintendent, but also as a principal, whether I'm talking to a parent, whether I'm talking to a teacher, whether I'm talking to another administrator, I can always say, in the decision that we're making is the children at the center, because we need to make sure they're taken care of. So principal, you have that staff member that may be in and out your building, taking days off all the time, showing up to work late. Instead of just bringing them to the table with a write-up, have a conversation with them about what's going on, but also reminding them that the non-negotiable in this school district is whatever your school values are. And if children is not at the core of that, then you need to rewrite them, because something in them needs to speak about children being at the center of the work, because that's why we are all there, to ensure that children are at the center of the work. So yes, the principal leads the building, but the principal's greatest job is in who they hire. And so we have to do a better job at hiring and making sure that we are putting the human back into human resource services. And I'm not just talking about the central office level, but also at the school level, in how we interview people, right? It shouldn't just be focused on academics. We need to get to the nitty gritty in what people believe, like their beliefs about our children. You don't believe that an economically disadvantaged child can achieve. You think that because they're poor, they can't be just as smart and just as successful as a child that is not living in poverty, then I don't need you in my building. Because as a leader, I believe that all children have the opportunity to achieve, and with the right resources and support to help them eliminate some of those barriers or jump over them, they will.
Listen, before powerful, so powerful, I gotta give you a follow-up. Before I go to Dr. Miller, give me a brief answer with this, only because of the time. And I'm gonna say this live. Normally I would say this off mic, but I'm gonna say this live. This is not the question yet. It's I just checked my phone. This is a masterclass. I don't know why this happened, how this happened, but my next Saturday guest just canceled. Like, I just checked it while you were talking. Are the two of you free next Saturday?
I'm not.
Oh,
my daughter has volleyball.
All right, so we'll schedule off camera and get. Okay. I want you together. All right, let me go to this question, Dr. Lott-Velez. I'm gonna be an AP real quick. I'm an assistant principal. My teaching career was phenomenal, and because my teaching career was so phenomenal, that was the pathway to becoming assistant principal. I become assistant principal. I'm with an incompetent principal that has no clue as to how to utilize me. And I'm this full-time disciplinarian, test coordinator, lunch duty, bus duty, and I don't have a principal who will support me into becoming what I need to be for the staff and students. I'm frustrated. I'm discouraged. I hate this job. I don't know why I ever took it. I want to go back into the classroom because this is not fun. I get no joy. I get no self-satisfaction whatsoever out of walking into this building every day because of the way I'm being misutilized by my principal. I bet you I'm speaking for somebody that's on the other side of my camera right now. So now I just listened to Dr. Lott-Velez say that, and like I'm somebody out here in the world. And Dr. Lott-Velez said that we've got to hire the best. But now this person personifies my monologue this morning. And this person said, but I am the best. I'm good. I have a wealth of potential. You'll never see me through my resume though, right? Speak to that person, Doc. And I'm gonna give you the same chance, Dr. Miller. Speak to that person. How do I convince somebody that, no, I'm good. I just didn't have an opportunity to shine, so you'll never see it.
So there's a couple of things here, and I'm going to give you the conversation that I would have given that person if they would call me on the cell phone and we were talking. You work to live, you don't live to work. And so for me, it's the best thing in the world to be able to go to a job that is actually a part of your passion, because it becomes a part of you working in your passion. And if you took on a role expecting to do something and you feel like you're not doing it, you need to communicate that to your principal. If your principal, knowing how you feel, tells you that he or she still wants you to operate outside of the expectation you had when you accepted the position, you have to make a decision for yourself. So a couple of things could occur. Number one, you are the assistant principal. So your job is to assist the principal. What I usually see happen is the assistant principal assists the principal, and then the school doesn't do well because that principal doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. And as a result, it doesn't function. Now, if you're assisting the principal and the school is doing well, then perhaps what you're doing you need to do because the school is functioning well. But I haven't experienced vice principals and principals having this issue and the school functions well. When there is issues between the vice principal and the principal, it has an impact on the overall culture of the school.
It does.
And so at some point, you have to understand that you are a human and your life matters. And if you feel like there is no way, like you've had the conversation and you've tried, then you have to make a decision on if that's the place for you. If being under that leader is the leader for you. I've had the distinct honor and pleasure of choosing who I work for. And that's powerful. When you are good enough, then you can choose who you work for versus being forced to work for people. And I'm going to tell you something. In all my years, I've had people supervise me, but I've always worked for children. That's who I work for. I've always worked for my community, the community that I lived in for over 30 years. That's who I work for. And I'm going to work hard despite the barriers to make sure that I get that done. But the moment I feel like I can no longer do that work at all, I'm going to make a decision to choose to do it somewhere else. You don't have to suffer. And this is me having that conversation. If you feel it's that bad and you've tried, you've had a conversation, you've talked to your administrator, then go find somewhere else to be. Now, if there is, and you could be somewhere else because you're good. Now, if there's opportunity for you to, for that relationship to change, then take that opportunity. And I'm going to tell you something. Look within yourself. Because a lot of time we always want to point the finger this way, but we don't point the finger this way. What can I do differently? Even if it's just like Dr. Miller said, having a conversation. Like, have you even sat and talked to your principal? Have you been talking to everybody else but your principal? Like, have the conversation with your principal and come to the table with solutions. But when you have had all of those conversations and it's eating you alive and it's having an impact on your lifestyle, you're amazing. Make the decision. You work to live. You do not live to work. We have one life. We have one opportunity in our journey to make an impact in this world. And you cannot allow that to be deferred or deterred by anybody. So you have to make that decision. And that's for the person that's like, I've tried everything and nothing is changing. That's for you. That's the conversation for you.
Love it. You know, Dr. Miller, I love everything about that response, by the way. Dr. Miller, you got a lot to address there, right? Because the initial question was about the culture being a reflection of the leadership of the building. And then I went on and added, you know, just built on what was said. But I want you to still respond to that. And then also talk about that AP that's that feels qualified, but just hasn't had the opportunity to demonstrate or to exhibit the qualities that person has.
Yes, I agree that the culture is a reflection of the leadership. I love going into my schools, and when you instantly walk into the doors of the school, the culture is evident for you. It's either warm, it's inviting, it's welcoming, whether to the SLT team, the district office team, parents, students, teachers. The culture itself tells exactly what you, leader, want in your building. So if it's just pretty, and I've been in buildings that are really pretty, but the culture itself does not lend to truly embracing, loving, taking care of all children, not just a select group of children, all children. So as a leader, it's our responsibility. I remember being a principal, 8.5 years as a principal. And the one thing I prided myself on was when people walked into my building, it was, wow, your building is so clean. And I just love coming here because I wanted my students to feel, I wanted them to feel like this is my home away from home. And that expectations, no matter what, were set high. But when you walk through those doors, you know that you are loved, you are wanted, and you are here because we need you here. Without these, and also to the parents, at least the ones who weren't, irate and out of order, I want you here too, because without you entrusting us with your children, we wouldn't even be here. We wouldn't be able to even have these conversations about education and leadership. So the culture sets the tone for the entire school itself. And the principal, it is up to the principal to make sure that the tone, the culture, and what they really want to exude it starts from the first opening of the door. I'm visualizing myself back at Miller Street. So I'm like, we're opening the door, and I want someone to greet my families. Tell them thank you. Thank you for entrusting us with your children. Thank you. Because we all came here because of our children, or at least I did. We came because we want to make an impact on these children. We want to improve their outcomes. We want to make sure that we save as many as we possibly can. I want people to be how my 8th grade teachers were, and my principal, Mr. Williams, and my AP, Ms. Ramos. They welcomed us into this school. I loved going to my schools. And now as the assistant superintendent, that's the first thing I look for. I visit the schools, and it's just like, I love coming here. And I tell them, the principals, though, I love coming here. When I go back to my old school, it's like a nostalgia. I feel it, and I'm just like, wow, I remember what it felt like, and it still feels that way. And so it's important that our children feel that way, because guess what? They're going to grow up into these young adults who may become teachers and who may become leaders, and who will just want to give back the way we're giving back to the community that loved us so much. So I want that the same for our other students. So it's important that the leaders, they set it from the opening of the door. I definitely believe that. As far as the teacher the AP who, it was about, what was it? I'm sorry, what was the question again? I can't hear you.
I keep talking to my wife before she left out of here. This AP has a solid track record, right?
Yes.
As far as the classroom, and that was the pathway to become the assistant principal. But now I got with a principal that doesn't know how to utilize me, so I look like a glorified disciplinarian, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
so how do I shine so that you would still have an interest in possibly hiring me?
Yeah, I'm coaching somebody through this exact situation. So it was just like, I was sitting here like, yes, I know, I understand. So first, pray. I pray. I have them pray. Think about what it is that you want. And I'm a praying woman, so pray. And if you are, I'm hoping that you are, pray about what it is that you want God to reveal for you in that space. I've been there as well. I have been there as well, feeling that somebody's going to try to sabotage me and my role, my job, and this is my profession. So, and then I want them to ask themselves this question: what can you control? Is there anything, like right now, your principal does not value you or what have you, but what can you control? And then from there, think about what are you potentially learning, because you have to obtain something from there and not just everything negative. And from there, as you think about what can you control and what is it that you're learning or not learning, what do you want to learn? Take advantage of other professional development opportunities to continue to grow. You have a principal who is not pouring into you. You have a principal who is not training you where you're not learning. Then you have to take those opportunities for professional development on your own. It's part of your budget. It's part of the budget to make sure that you receive professional development opportunities. So go out, seek professional development, go to these conferences, and then pocket your level of expertise. You may be good. Let me tell you something. There are conferences where vice principals, assistant principals, they are presenting. I'm learning from them. So when I go to these conferences, there are assistant principals standing in front of me presenting all kinds of excellent work, and I'm gaining so much from them. If you have, I would say package it. If you have anything that you believe is strong, that can move students, that can improve student outcomes, that can improve teacher learning, package it into something where you can present at a conference, and then you will begin to grow from there. And like Samantha, Dr. Lott-Velez said, this may not be the place for you. It may be your season in that particular place, so you can learn. Let me tell you, you are learning, because you're going to learn what not to do when you become that principal. So make sure that you package it up, create a workshop on it for people like me who love learning from different people, and you'll be able to, still get some form of fulfillment in your role, because, some people are connected to the city or they're connected to the school because there's some form of connection there. But I'm not a believer in that, to be honest with you. I want to be able, I came back to home on 3 different occasions. And it's okay. You can come back, but you can also learn elsewhere. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to take a step away, learn what you need to learn, because home is where the heart is, as they say. You can come back home if the opportunity presents itself. But in the meantime, you get to pour into other school districts. I was able to go to Irvington and Roselle, and I love both of those districts. I love the people and the schools that I was able to lead there. And then I was still able to come back to home, my hometown, and still now pour into a group of 14 principals, schools. And again, I had, I think, 16 at one point in the Southwest. So various principals. I learned, and I gained so much knowledge from them. I learned so much about myself in that process. So just because you're in this situation right now, I'm going to say package it up. Create yourself some wonderful professional development opportunities for other people, because guess what? If that principal is not gaining knowledge or utilizing you in the best way, I'm telling you, these conferences will be able to, and you'll wind up being someone like a Principal Kafele, being able to come on these podcasts and share your wealth. Yes, so right. That's what I'm saying to you, and I'm hoping that that helps.
I love it. Let me chime in on what you said about the conferences too. Fam out there, I'm at a lot of conferences, obviously, because I'm a presenter, right? But I'm still there. But I don't go to conferences and present and then catch the closest flight out of town. I stay. Yep. And I go to sessions. That's what I do. A lot of people are like, wow, you in a session? Yeah, I go to session. I'm trying to learn something. I don't know it all. So I go to sessions, but I meet a lot of people. A lot of my guests are people I've met at conferences. They know that, right? I met them. I'm like, oh, you sound like somebody I need to interview. So I'm saying that to say this. If you're someone in your circle is so small, so tight, that you don't have other people who are experiencing the same things you're experiencing, and because if there's someone out there truly on the other side of my camera who's going through the scenario that I gave, but you're in isolation and you feel alone. There's thousands of people that are going through that right now. That's why I made it a question. So, but you got to be in those other spaces. Don't lock yourself into your little district, right? Your little city and state. There's people all over the nation who are dealing with similar issues, similar challenges, and you got to be able to respond to them. Last thing, then I'm gonna go to my question. This AP and New Principals Academy community. Let me tell you something to the fam out there. About a year ago, I tried to shift the whole thing to YouTube, right? Like I was going to take it off of Facebook, take it off of Twitter, take it off of LinkedIn, and put it on YouTube. And then the day I did it, I said to myself, that was dumb. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done on social media, to try to shift everybody to YouTube. And let me tell you why, and then I'm going to go to the question. Because on YouTube, people typically do not use their real name, right? They got little nicknames and all this kind of stuff. On Facebook, literal communities have been built. There are people on the Facebook thread who are friends from different states who never knew each other before this platform, and now they are friends. They interact with each other. In fact, they break bread together, right? Friendships have formed, networks have formed. So that's just another area, right? Just being on something like this where there's so many people that tune in, and you start networking with some of these people in your thread, depending on which platform you're watching, right? And now you got more people to engage with and compare notes, etc., and then just expanding your own territory. So that's important. So good stuff. We never got to y'all talking points, man. I got this one more question. I just need it, right? And then let's at least explore one of the talking points. We at 1 o'clock already. Here we go. This one was to Dr. Lott-Velez. You said something in the bio that really intrigued me, and I just made it a question. Your bio reads, Her leadership is distinguished by her ability to build systems focused on pedagogy, staff development, parent engagement, and community partnerships. This word systems is one of the newer buzzwords in education, right? I mean, when I was in leadership, I never heard that. The only time I heard the word system was school system, right? But in terms of how we use it now, it's one of the newer words, right? So I want you to talk to us about talk to a leader out there on the other side of our cameras who has not yet developed a systems mentality, right? A systems mindset, and talk to them about the necessity of a systems mentality or mindset, and then give us an example specifically of what you mean by systems focused pedagogy.
Absolutely. So when I say the word systems, I'm referring to what is every layer of the organization doing to achieve the goal. Now, what that is, it has to be codified, right? And we usually do that through law, policy, protocols, and procedures, right? And guidance documents. And so in every leadership role that I have led, I've always started off my team with looking at law, right? Like, what is the expectation of you? In our school district, we start our administrators off with their job description, right? We also, during the August meetings, we go over very important laws that govern our school district. But in my roles, which I've had different type of leadership roles, right? So I've been in the role of a supervisor. I've been in the role of a director of a program, and then I've been in the role of executive director of multiple programs, both at the federal and the state level. All right. And then in that role, I had to oversee schools, right? And so as executive director, at first I had to start off with 4 schools, and then eventually it became 6 schools. And that's when I hired a principal to support me with that. But before that, I had all of these schools, and I had people leading in these schools. It was no way in the world I was going to be able to do an effective job if I didn't have an effective system managing those schools, but then also managing all of the preschool private providers across the whole city of Newark, who, by the way, did not go through the same training as principals. They were business owners, and they are hiring people. We had to train some of them up as well instructionally, right? So I'm going to share with you some of the ways that I did that, because it was very intentional. The first thing that I did was I sat with my team and we went over the law. For a preschool, the law was New Jersey Administrative Code 6A13A in the state of New Jersey. We spent a whole week combing through the law. I gave everybody on the team a certain portion, whatever part as a supervisor you were leading, you had to study that part of the law. And it wasn't just my supervisors. I also gave that same law to all of the support staff. I also gave that same law to all of my preschool providers, and everybody had to do the same activity. So number one, we start off with, this is what the law requires us to do. From there, we begin to think about what are the protocols, what are the district policies or policies within your organization that align to this law, right? So knowing what those things are. What are the protocols, procedures, and guidance that we're giving to our constituents that align to this law, right? And so outlining what those are. So having a conversation in each group. So the teachers, coaches had their conversations. The preschool intervention and referral team meetings had their conversations. The nurses had their conversations. Everybody had their own conversation around the law. The supervisors had theirs. The private providers had theirs. What are our strengths? So we did a SWOT analysis. What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are our external opportunities? And what are our external threats? So strengths and weaknesses, we looked at internally. Opportunities and threats, we looked at externally. And we had that conversation. We also had the conversation around, okay, knowing all of this, what do we keep? What do we eliminate? What do we modify? So my principals that are listening, right, they're going to say, wait, this sounds very familiar. Yes, because the system is the system, right? The thinking around the system has always remained the same. We have to structure everybody's mindset around why you are doing the work you're doing. You're not just showing up to do whatever you want to do. There's a law that requires that this work is done, and you need to know what that law is. So we go through this whole analysis, and then we take a look at our roles and our responsibilities more deeply. And we have some conversation around how do we, in our role and responsibility, enact this work, right? And that requires us to set up a plan. So my team had to come and present that plan to me. They had to submit quarterly plans. And in that plan, they listed what their roles and responsibilities were and what their tasks were going to be across the year. So when I said that to the educator earlier, it's something that I know has happened and has proven to be successful. And once they do that, part of their observation with me is them actually sharing outcomes. So how have you, now that you have put this plan in place, when you come back to the table to talk to me, you have to talk to me about how successful you are with your plan. How is your plan working out? Because we both validated that it could work. You didn't just give it to me. We read it together. We talked about it. It wasn't just a piece of paper on my desk. We're in this together. So how is this plan working for you? Well, these are the things going well. These are the things not going so well. Well, why do you think it's not going well? Okay, they tell me why. How do we correct that? Okay, so over the next couple of months, we're going to work on corrective action. How we're going to change this part of the system so that it can get better. So it's that ongoing monitoring and corrective action that takes place. And this is like, it just keeps cycling. And then they come back and we look at the next part of the quarterly plan and we loop back to like how it has been impactful. And by the end of the year, we're able to see, was our plan successful? Did the system work for us? And if things did not work for us, because we have codified information, notes that we took, we know why. One year, again, when I had that record achievement with all the schools, like everybody went up. One of my reflective questions to the principals was, do you know why? Because, we were all popping our collar. We were happy. And so my question is, do you know why? If I was to come to, could you tell me exactly what it was that you did? So Dr. Miller said it. She said, make sure that you package your successes, right? I saw Kashonda Montez made a comment. She's one of my special assistants. Make sure you package your genius. It's important that you know what you're doing that is going well. We can't just focus on the problems. We have to focus on the things that are working well, because that's what's going to get us. Our strengths are the part of the system that's going to get us to the next level. And then what happens is when you create the system for the next year, you make sure you hang on to your strengths and that we expand them where we can expand them. And that's why our jobs as educators is to study. As a leader in the building, you're studying your people, you're studying your students, you're studying your staff and your students. You're studying their behaviors, you're studying their outcomes, because you want to know what's working well and what's not. That is the role of education. Like, we are in this service to figure out what works for children, what works for adults, so that we can be at our greatest capacity. So we have to go through this process of, number one, understanding law, understanding your district's policies. Anytime somebody write me on something, I'm not like, people may say, oh, she always trying to drop a policy. Yeah, you're right. The moment that you say something to me, I'm going to go straight to our policy manual. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to read it. I'm going to see what laws are tied to it. I'm going to read the law. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you what I've researched so that we're making the right type of decisions. So know the law, know your district policy. You're not going to know all of it, but know how to access it to learn it. Know what your protocols and procedures are, whether it's at the district level or the school level, and know what guidance has been given. Because a lot of times the problem is in the guidance. All right. I do want to put this out there. When many schools are failing in a system, it's not usually because of the school. It's usually because of the central office supports and how we're thinking centrally. And I'm talking about even within my own department, right? Because we're central office. We cannot put principals, we cannot put all this accountability on principals when their schools fell, but then when we fell across the board, we're not putting accountability on our system centrally. So we have to make sure that our central offices in any school district understand that central offices are there to serve schools versus schools serving central office. Schools are there to serve students, period. Everybody in that building. So anytime we give out an order or a directive or instruction to our principals who are busting their behinds and working really hard for hundreds of children every single day, we have to ask ourselves, is this instruction in service to this principal, or am I expecting this principal to serve me? And as a system, are we thinking in that way that we are servant leaders, not just leaders that have to get outcomes, but we are servicing people? And our systems have to be developed. So when we're thinking about what our actions are going to be, it has to always be about how do we shift our work centrally so that schools get the best services that they can possibly be. Now, once we're giving them the best services, then we're going to expect only the best. And for me, the work that I'm doing with my principals, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Because sometimes I'm okay with you going a little bit against the grain. I'll be there to advocate for you and stand up for you and get beat down for you. I'm okay, but you better give me results. If you're doing something different, give me results. And we go over their systems. The state has an annual school plan, and the annual school plan is for every Title I school district in the state of New Jersey. And we have to write down what are our goals, what are our strategies, what are our action steps, making sure that you are looping back every month and reminding your staff of that and talking about your progress along the way and making corrective action. And where you're not achieving what you need to achieve, you need to change something. If you're not having those conversations and you're just going on day to day in your role with whatever goes on and putting out fires every day, but you're not looping back to that, you're going to always be running a rat race. So it's always important that you start off with that plan. First of all, study the law. I'm going to say it again, study the law. Study your district's policies, protocols, procedures, and any guidance related to your specific work. You're a social worker, go to the stuff for social worker. You're a vice principal, you got to look at stuff for basically most of the positions in your school that you oversee. If you're a principal, you know to do, so study it. And then make sure that your systems are written, right? Your plan is written to be able to support that process.
Whew. Y'all dropping some stuff today, man. This is a freaking master class. This is different. It's we ain't got enough time to get it all in. So here's what I'm gonna do. I just want to hit on one talking point each. When we go off camera, let's schedule another date and we'll come back and we do it again. Because from these comments, it seemed like everybody wants y'all back anyway. So as far, Dr. Miller, of the ones you gave me, the one that I think is best to kind of start closing us out is the last one where you said self-care is essential to a leader's effectiveness in the role. Because I'm thinking about everything that's been said, going back to my monologue, right? And then just throughout these 2 hours. But then how do I create harmony between my work life and my outer work life, my personal life, right? And I think that that's just as critical as everything that we've talked about, that you've talked about, the two of you, today. So talk to us. Let me put it on the screen too. For the fam out there. Here we go. What was that? Number 6. So I went way down there. So you said self-care is essential to a leader's effectiveness in the role. What are you saying to us?
Well, I could talk about this for hours, but I won't. This is actually what my book is on, Principal Kufele.
The one you're writing now.
When I am writing now, yes, because I've worked with my principals significantly on this self-care practice. There's so many different types of self-care. You have financial self-care when people want to get into budgeting and things like that, increase some financial aspect of their life. You have physical self-care where you want to get in shape and do things like that. Spiritual. I just did a video on spiritual self-care about, fasting and being grounded in God at the beginning of my year. So I usually fast 12 days. The first 12 days of the year to represent 12 months for my year. And that's me being grounded in God and in what I wanted for my life and what God wants for me. So the self-care aspect was something that was very near and dear to me. And I'm going to talk about all that information and how I got there in my book. But I worked with this self-care as this whole topic with my principals this past year and a half. And I can tell you what I found in the principals who really decided that, I'm going to embrace this aspect, because they were honest at the end of last year. They were honest. It was like, what is this about? They didn't want to do this. The only reason why they did it and followed through with my expectations is because they knew each month, each week during a check-in, or each month during our meetings, that they knew I was going to ask them, how are you intentional about focusing on some aspect of your self-care? So then we asked, what is self-care? And, it can mean so many different things to so many people. What is it that feeds you outside of the work of being the leader? So for some of my principals, is giving back to the community. They wanted to spend more time giving back to any community, whether it be their community at home, their school community, because it's not just about the job. And it could be about maybe their church community, spiritual self-care. Some people wanted to really get into their financial self-care. They wanted to make sure that they got their credit score, increased their credit score, got out of debt, whatever it is that they wanted. That is what they definitely focused on for the year. And they had to come each month telling me at least something. So even if it was some of my principals, it was like, okay, they didn't do it that first month. Oh, I made the appointment to get my nails done, but they never went.
Yeah.
The next month they came back. I went and got my hair done. I made the appointment and I followed through with it. And so my favorite question I ask anyone, and that's even people I coach outside of, what was self-care, is how are you going to hold yourself accountable? Because if this is something that you want, you have to hold yourself accountable in this self-care movement. When we're young, and I'm talking to our aspiring administrators, when you become that assistant principal, when you become that vice principal, whatever it may be, when you become that person, how are you going to be intentional about taking care of yourself? When I became a VP, I just hit 30, I think. And I thought, I'm shopping. I'm going to go get my hair done. I thought that was real self-care. How am I taking care of, my body? How am I making sure what goes into it is healthy? Because this work, this leadership work, it's a lot. And it's lonely sometimes. And sometimes you're eating fast food and don't realize that, you preparing yourself for something wrong. So at the earlier age, I used to ask myself, when I first started writing my book, I said, if I could tell my younger self something about self-care, not just taking care of myself, but self-care and being intentional about it, what would it be? And I still ask myself some of that. I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have taken stock in it sooner. So with the results, and I interviewed my principals, I'm interviewing a lot of people about self-care and their practices and what it means to them and what they think it means, because sometimes self-care doesn't have a meaning. They don't know what it even looks like. It's just, that's what it is for me. And you name it. And then, so for instance, this past year with my principals, the year before with my principals, we had an entire year focused on what they wanted for their self-care. And at the end of the year, we talked about it. how were you successful in it? Some were like, no, I didn't. Some people ran with it, and they're now implementing it as part. It's become part of their culture for their administrators, for their teachers, and for their students. They have like a self-care day for their students, and it creates a different culture for their schools. And I can be very honest. My SLT, my school leadership team, we had the most success out of all the other school leadership team. And I personally believe that my principals were intentional about how they took care of themselves throughout that year. I required them to leave. I said, I need you to leave that building for about 15 minutes a day, at least. They would have to text me. I'm stepping out just to get some air. I'm stepping out to get some nourishment, some food, something. We would have opportunities where they took pictures. If they were on a vacation, when they went July, when they went away on their vacations, talk to me about how you're still implementing self-care, because it's just not being off of work. It's about being intentional about what you're doing for you, for your family. It is definitely so important. So I believe that it has a direct reflection, direct correlation in some way to how effective a principal is, because if you're not pouring into yourself and not helping yourself, how really truly effective can you be when it comes time to pour into the rest of your school, your staff, the teachers, everyone in your school community? So yeah, that's my focus on self-care and my belief in it. And I can honestly say that I saw a correlation between the principals who really were intentional about their self-care for the course of the school year, because they were able to come back each month and give me something on how they improved, and then how it really impacted them professionally, how they went into work different each day to ready for the work. Because no matter what, that the principalship and the assistant principalship is just difficult. It is. It's a lot of work. It was my most rewarding job, but oh my goodness, was it a lot. But I can say that I don't regret it. And if I could do it all over again, I don't want to be a principal, but I love what I do now, coaching them, because I want them to be better. And I feel that I make the most impact in this way. So that's my take on right now. Self-care is essential to a leader's effectiveness in the role.
I want to stay with you. I know it's 1:30, but hey, we got too much good stuff going on. Talk to us. And even if you haven't gotten to this place yet, where I'm going, I haven't gotten to it, but I still want to talk about it. Talk to us about the significance of sleep.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And I'm not there. I averaged 5 hours all week last week.
It is. My for me, there are nights when I'm just like, I can't sleep. And I spoke to my program specialist 3 about that. When I wake up in the hours between 3 and 5, I'm like, okay, I saw this video that said this is where God is trying to have conversations with you. And sometimes I have to just sit in silence and really reflect on it. And I'm getting some of my best ideas at that time. But boy, am I tired when I finally get to go back to sleep and have to wake up just to start my day.
Yeah.
So I haven't gotten there yet when it comes to having straight hours of sleep every night. But I can tell you, when I don't get my sleep, I can't think straight. I can't get my words out. So it's really important for me to step away. Like last night, I was just like, I'm going to bed. I have to be able to communicate tomorrow and be articulate enough to be able to express myself. So I'm going to bed nice and early. It's the hustle and bustle of being an Uber mom to my kids. But last night I shut it down. And sometimes that's what we have to do. Yeah. At some point, you don't have to take all of your work home with you every night. No, you can. That email, one of my principals said to me, he was talking to his son and he insisted on getting on an email on the weekend. And his son said, when are you getting off get off the computer? Like, yeah, Daddy, get off the computer. Because are you really going to address whatever situation you read in that email that day at that moment when you opened it? No, you're not. What can you do? If the building is not burning down, which we have had some issues there, if the building is not burning down, or if something didn't happen to a student, it's not in that email, they would have called you for that emergency. Other than that, you have to just put it to the side and really invest in you. And sleep, oh my goodness, is so, so, so important to it. So it's days where if I believe that I need a mental health day, I'm going to take that day and get my rest, because I can't function. I mean, even as a mom, I'm a mom of twins who are in basketball and volleyball and a scholarship program. Like, I'm an Uber mom. Their life is my life right now. So I definitely have to get in the sleep and put everything else to the wayside at some point. And it's essential to your self-care. That's my belief in it.
Y'all hear that? So, you know,
It's
it's for me, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
I'm speaking all day or coaching all day, and then I got to do that gym thing in the hotel.
Yes.
So I do that. So making myself even more so tired. Then I'm keeping up with 47 by watching cable news that I normally would not do, but now I'm finding myself watching. I'm not a cable news guy. I'm an ESPN guy. But this week I could not tell you what went on in the sports world this week because I'm keeping up with this other world. So now I'm staying up late to watch it, which is kind of insane. And then I'm getting up and I'm just being transparent. Then I'm drinking 2 cups of coffee. I'm not even a coffee drinker, and I'm drinking 2 cups because as a presenter, the adrenaline will get me through a 6-hour presentation, but the adrenaline will not get me through one-to-one coaching. I may fall out on the floor in the chair having a conversation with my mentee. So I gotta put that coffee in me because I'm contradicting the whole premise of self-care, right? Self-preservation. So I know I got to work on it, and I will work on it, but I want to be transparent for someone out there who may need the transparency, as opposed to me just giving you all the right stuff. Let me let you know that this human guy, this human being that you all tune into to be a part of us on Saturday morning has his own self-care issues, right? And that's the same guy that had the heart attack 10 years ago, effective May 1st, right? So, so we're working, but we're human. But as Dr. Miller said, fam, you got to make self-care a priority. You got to make self-preservation a priority. Let me go to Dr. Lott-Velez's last one. But if this topic, if you chomping at the bit on this self-care topic, then certainly feel free to chime in on it. But I want to put the one up on the screen. And fam, y'all hang in there with us, man. This is a master class, man. We went a little overtime. That's all right. It's all right. The March Madness will be there for you. You said how this is the one that intrigued me most of the ones you sent me. How students approach learning has more impact. I said that with the wrong emphasis though. How students approach learning has more impact than their knowledge of academic content. That is powerful. I'm sure we're getting ready to get a class on that. So because that's some powerful stuff there, right? How I had to put emphasis on that. How they approach. No, I want to do it a little bit more justice. How students approach. That's where it should be. Has more impact than their knowledge of academic content. Floor is yours.
Yes, absolutely. So I think part of this for me and my research and experience comes from my time in the early childhood space, starting off as a teacher and just studying my students and understanding that how they approach learning had the most impact. But there's also a lot of research out there about it. So there's the how students learn and there's the what students learn. A lot of time we focus on what students learn, and all of the test data and everything else is focused on what they learn. But in life, the one part of learning that sticks with us is how we learn. In all stages of our life, we have to learn to get to the next level. We have to learn to thrive every day through new experiences, right? The world is ever changing. Our lives are ever changing, and we have to learn how to navigate through that. So the New Jersey Department of Education has really good standards on approaches to learning, but it really stops at like the 3rd grade level, right? And so I remember years ago, it was only at the preschool level as a part of the standards, and we had the 21st century skills, which the career skills are still there. But what's really important is our measure of that. So like in preschool, we had to measure that. We had to actually observe children and take notes on how they learn. How are they engaging in the process? Like planning to be present in their learning. Like, are they actually going to the centers and talking to their friends? Think about your children in the upper grades, the testing grade. What about that student that never raises his or her hand? Or when they're in a group, they're never the one to speak out unless someone asks them a question, right? So we have to teach children how to engage, right? We have to teach children how to be persistent, right? So like in our framework for effective teaching, persistence is one of the biggest pieces. Actually, that we have persistence. We talk about the culture of achievement in the classroom. All of that is a part of our framework. And it's because persistence is very important. Just think about it in life. Like in life, there are going to be times when things get hard, right? And how do you get to the next level? How do you persist through and not give up in a challenge that's given to you? So whether it's in academic content or outside, whether it's in the extracurricular activities you do, that's why our sports coaches are like the best teachers of the sport, because they teach children how to learn the sport, right? And it's not them sitting down with pencil and paper and writing essays about it. They actually engage in it in a way that they know that they could engage in it. So you have that planning piece where children are thinking about their planning, that engagement piece, their creativity and their innovation. Like, how do we teach children to share their ideas, right? And to be innovative in the spaces that they're in, to not only think that the best ideas come from their teachers, but it actually comes from them. And part of that is sometimes asking a question and giving children wait time. For the vice principals talking to teachers, sometimes asking teachers questions and actually giving wait time and listening for the answers. To the teachers, to children, give the question and listen and wait for the students to answer. I love some wait time. I love wait time because it means people are thinking. But the big piece here is hearing them respond. So you have to actually give them that opportunity. And then the other part is like, how are they transferring the learning as well? Like when they're learning from you, how are they transferring that into other situations? So again, like when you think about sports, you see in the sports field, they come in uniform. They have certain characteristics and qualities they have to uphold. Their coaches are like, on certain days, you have to dress like this. When we are going to a game, you may have to dress up. So they've set these bars for them. And then guess what? Bars get set during the day. So you don't just come to school during the school day and dress any way you want and then change into your suit to go to the game after. No, you actually come dressed up for the full day. So like, how are we teaching children how to take some of the things that are required of them and some of their mentoring activities and their coaching activities and bringing it into the school day? We have Dr. Sandra McGuire. She's an author and she's a researcher. She writes a lot about teaching children how to learn. And one of the things that I do with I did it with all of my principals, but I also do it with every vice principal that I interview, because I also interview all of the vice principals. I have them read that article that she wrote on closing a metacognitive equity gap. And what her research shows is that that in economically disadvantaged communities, that for the most part, the issue is not necessarily a academic gap. It is our academic achievement gap. It is a metacognitive equity gap. And we have to do better at teaching children how to think about their learning. And so in our own research, we restructured some of our processes. So for example, in our school district, we have our academic domains that we are required to observe in classrooms and make sure that they're happening well, right? And a couple of them include notebooks and assessment portfolios. So for our notebooks, it wasn't enough just for children to take notes. Like the note-taking process is not enough. How are children engaging with their notes and planning based off of their notes? So our students are also required to do a running log. Like they have to, every time they get, at the end of every lesson, they have to take an assessment. And when they take that assessment, the students have to write down how well they did. And the purpose of that is so that when they're getting prepared to go to take a test, they know where their strengths are and they know where their challenges are. And where your challenges are, you need to come up with some corrective action, student. And so our principals and our amazing teachers are in a process of teaching children how to do that. The same process with portfolios. You know, coming in, what I saw from the process, which was good, we had the structure of grabbing the information, but what was missing was the student self-assessment and gathering assessment documents. They had them in these crates, and all of the kids' tests were in there and all their assessments. And the person that was learning the most was the crate, and the crate is not even a person. But the crate knew all of the students, the scores, the crate knew all of the teacher feedback, the crate knew it. But who I didn't know if they knew it was the student. And so now the student has to go through that process where they have to look at their own assessments and they have to determine how well am I doing? What are my strengths? What are my areas of growth? And they have to develop a plan on how they're going to improve. Just yesterday, we had a training where we talked about peer-to-peer feedback and how a peer can give another student feedback. And one of the points that I honed in on with my team was not only do we want the student to give another peer feedback, but then we want that student that is receiving the feedback to actually read it and then come up with a plan based on the feedback that they receive. In that case, both students learn, because we know the one doing the teaching is the one doing the what? Learning. So the person that actually gave the feedback learned more than the student receiving it if the student did not, in fact, come up with an action plan following it. So it's very important that we're engaging students in those metacognitive processes. The research shows that in more advanced affluent districts, that students are introduced to higher level learning and questioning and are engaged in more metacognitive processes than students that are not in as affluent school districts, that they are getting honors levels courses and where our students may not be getting those honors levels courses unless they are above the norm, right? But at the end of the day, if everybody had to get the honors level course, we will see more outcomes because the expectation will be higher. And that's one of the things that we are really working hard on in our district, is really moving the agenda through acceleration, right? So a part of our process as learning in our engagement and learning as a district is also in our engagement in studying what we need to do to get better. So I do recommend, if you really want to learn more about this, how students approach learning, look into metacognition. Look into what metacognition processes look like, because that process happens even with adults. We go through the process of planning what we want to do, setting goals for ourselves, assessing if we're achieving our goals. We just heard Principal Kafele talk today about his sleeping and, really wanting to set a goal to really sleep more. So it's like, what's going to be your plan for that? How are you going to make sure that you are addressing boundaries and not just balance? Everybody want to talk about work-life balance. I say, you know what? Let's be realistic. In some of our jobs, we're not going to have 50-50. It's not going to be balanced. But what we can have is work-life boundaries. A boundary is when I say that I'm turning off work and I'm focusing on life, work gets turned off. And I will not allow for it to interrupt me at all. Knowing that I can't have the 50-50 because I'm in a high-level leadership position. So it might be a 60-40, it might be a 70-30. But when it's time for me to take my 30% for myself, don't bother me. And we all have to work on that. And I'm going to leave you with this. As adults, the best way for us to learn how to teach children how to learn and how to approach learning in life, not just learning in academic content, because how we approach learning in life will transfer over to the academic content. The best way for us to teach them that is to practice it ourselves. And it's not going to be easy, but we have to get started with setting boundaries, being very clear on what it is that we want to do for ourselves and how much time we can dedicate to work, and what is going to be that uninterrupted time that we dedicate to self to implement those practices that were shared by Dr. Miller. Lead by example.
Wow. As much as I want to transition to our rapid fire BAM questions, you said something at the beginning of that response, and I don't want to leave it, because I want to make sure that everyone out there that's taking notes get this. You said the metacognitive equity gap, and I know you talked about it, and particularly with those honors courses, etc. But I want you to give us something that someone could jot some notes down and say, okay, I got that, right? This whole idea of this metacognitive equity gap, what is that? Unmute.
Sorry about that. One part is, number one, defining metacognition versus cognition, right? So cognition is focused on our thinking, right? And our thinking processes. What metacognition is, where we focus on how we think, right? So we want to make sure that we're very clear on that. And one of the key pieces here is understanding what metacognition processes look like. So number one, it looks like being able to plan for your own goals, right? So to set your goals and to plan for them, right? And so in areas where you have more high functioning students, they are allowed to do that. In areas where you don't, everything is being given to them. They're being told what to do, because if we don't tell them what to do, they're not going to know what to do. And so what happens is you go into classrooms and you see teachers doing all of the talking and children doing all of the listening versus the opposite. So part of closing that portion is to ensure that when children are talking, we are listening and we are studying them. The other piece too also is this deficit model that we have around, because children don't know, we can't teach that yet, right? So we have to understand that the reason why they don't know is because they're not being taught it, right? So we have to move in a more accelerated approach and an accelerated model. And we have to set up the structures and the systems to make that happen. So there's an article out there by Dr. Sandra McGuire. It is titled Teach Children with just look up Dr. Sandra McGuire and the Metacognitive Equity Gap, and the article should be pulled up. But I'm gonna leave you with a couple of things. One, make sure that students know how to plan. So even in your classroom should be extremely structured in your building. Students should know when they enter math, what is the math period going to look like? What is the math agenda going to pretty much entail? When they go in literacy, what is it going to be? When they go to gym, what's going to happen? They should know when they go to science, what's the process? They should be very clear on the plan of action for any classroom that they go into. The other piece is they need to be able to set their own goals on how they're going to achieve that. So they need to be very clear on the tools that they're using in their classroom. They need to know how to use their notebook. Like, how is the notebook going to help me learn? So instead of giving them a notebook and telling them this is where they're going to take notes, you give them the notebook and say, this is how this tool is going to help you to learn. They need to be able to do the same thing with any other tools and resources. The student should know everything about their learning, all right, and how they are engaging in that learning process. They also should be able to select their own strategies for that. So in our classrooms, the structure should be set up where it caters to the whole child and all of their specific interests, right? And so if your classroom is one track, you have a problem. If you know your students and you know you have a kinesthetic learner, you're going to make sure you have some opportunity for that student to move around and go different places. If you know you have more of a visual learner, you're going to make sure you have visuals. So you have to make sure that you have the proper tools in place for your learners and give them some point in the day where they can engage in that learning based off of their interests. So in many schools, we call it center times. Some people call it stations, whatever it is. It's like learn on your own, like whatever you call it. It needs to be an opportunity for them to engage the way that they want to engage, but have them plan that out. Like, so you know that you exhibited a challenge in this area. How are you, student, going to use your school day structure to help you get better? And that student should be able to articulate like a preschooler articulates, I am going to go to housekeeping and I'm going to pretend to be a mommy. They can do that at 3 and 4 years old. They're planning what they want to do and how they're going to do it, right? The same thing can happen for our older children where they can say, you know what, I struggle with adding and subtracting fractions with like or different denominators. So when I go into the centers, I'm going to log into my online platform and I'm going to study that over the course of the next couple of weeks until I get better. Or, you know what, I'm going to make sure I show up for tutoring after school and make sure that I study that and work with my teacher on that. Or, you know what, I'm going to go to my local library or ask my big brother, whatever it is, we want to hear that from students. And what I'm getting in record numbers are videos and evidence from our principals that our students are engaging in that process. So the goal is to be able to show like they could do it in pre-K, but they can also do it in every other grade level, and especially at the high school level. And then ultimately, let your students speak about it. Like, change the dynamics of parent-teacher conferences, all right? Parent-teacher conferences should not always be about the teacher doing all of the talking. You want to close the equity gap, allow our children to have a voice. Ensure that they are able to talk about their own work and share out what they did well, where they had a challenge, and how you can help them get better and how they're going to help themselves get better. So it's very important that the whole equity piece is that our structures don't allow for our children to have a voice in their own thinking. And that's the equity issue, because we think that they can't do it, but they actually can. And that's the equity piece. And we need to close that gap.
Can I piggyback on something, Samantha?
Absolutely.
I'm also thinking about, the students who are high achieving. And sometimes when you go into classrooms, the high achieving students, the students who finish first, they're the ones who are, again, assisting the teacher. And they are the ones who are teaching the other students. Now, as a teacher, we did something very special in Irvington. We started this with actually one of your vice principals, Dr. Lott-Velez, Leandria Garvin, and we called it a planning for part 2. It's what we utilized was, although the teacher did a lot of the planning, and it was a lot more work, but she saw success and gains in those student, the reading, the writing, and their additional student outcomes, where there's planning for those students who are not, they finish their work, they need additional work, or they need additional supports to push them forward. Advance their learning. They're not going to sit and wait for the entire class, for that whole group instruction, the entire class. So it lends back to the centers and the stations and the small groups, but it's the planning for that part 2, those students who have that additional 15 minutes, what else can you plan for that student? How can you move that student forward? So if you're learning algebra, okay, let's talk about additional algebra equations that the students can move forward in. If they are that they mastered this portion of the concept, what's next for that student, rather than sitting them wait around, or to help the teacher collect papers and pass out papers and everything else. I say add that part to the equity piece, because they deserve to be pushed just as much as the next student.
Yeah, love it. Wow, what information the two of you have shared on this platform today, this morning, this afternoon. We on 3 hours now, right? So that's all right. That's good, because now before we close out, I always got to do my rapid fire. I'll call them my BAM impact questions. I'm gonna give you both 10, and then the last one I give them to both of you. These are rapid fire, y'all. These are no commas, right? It's once you feel like you insert,
I'm nervous.
it's too much, right? I gotta say, right? So it's one sentence or even one word, right? So they're not questions that require a whole lot of thinking. I'm gonna start with Dr. Lott-Velez. Is education on the right path for underserved children today?
No.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
Yes, if we advocate for it and stick to it.
Does Dr. Samantha Lott-Velez's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Yes.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
The same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Because it's my calling.
What particularly fires you up within the work you do?
Seeing children be successful.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
People and ego.
That's good. What has been your greatest victory in your work thus far?
Student success and teachers feeling good about it.
What has been your greatest mistake in your work thus far?
Starting too late.
And what has been your greatest challenge in your work thus far?
my greatest challenge has been managing through the work-life boundaries, and I'm getting better.
Very good. Dr. Miller, are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you proud of your first year as a principal?
Yes.
This one's been answered, but I'm still going to throw it at you. Who inspires you in your work?
The women who've paved the way for me, my mom, my aunts, my cousins, and all the other leaders who got me to here in my leadership.
Good stuff. What book would you recommend for the fam out there this afternoon?
Simon Sinek, Leaders Eat Last, Why Some Teams are successful and others aren't.
Good stuff. What do you want to accomplish that you have not accomplished yet?
I want to have a TEDx.
There you go. Me too. Are you satisfied with where you are professionally right now?
I am, because I'm going to retire at the end of the year.
Is there another gear to your leadership, or are you at peak performance now?
Oh no, I'm just getting started. I'm not there yet.
What would you say to an assistant principal out there who continues to face closed doors to the principalship?
Don't stop knocking on other doors. There are plenty of doors. And again, package your greatness.
Yeah. What would you say to a leader out there who's lost their leadership passion?
Get a pep talk from Principal Kathele.
What would you say?
That's what you gave me.
I appreciate you. What would you say to a leader out there who's lost their leadership confidence?
Stop with the limiting beliefs.
And lastly, if Dr. Shakirah Miller was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Dr. Shakirah Miller is a nurturer, a leader, and a coach of everyone.
And if Dr. Samantha Lott-Velez was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Unrelenting, passionate, and a driver of success.
Love it, man. This was a masterclass. This was special. This was a great session. And as I say to the fam every week, those of you who are fam, you already know what I'm gonna say. Those of you who are new to the platform, the way we applaud our guests, if anything that was said today resonated with you, was good for your leadership, good for your practice, just sound material, you liked it, you loved it, what you could incorporate it or infuse it into your work going into next week, give us your favorite emojis. Just put them on the screen. Give us multiple emojis. Just give us your favorite emojis. The fam, the folks who are regulars, you've already started that, and I always appreciate that. But for the rest of y'all, if the session was a good session, if it was worth your while, give us those emojis. As I get mine, I always bust my Negro Leagues jersey. This is some of y'all probably like, what is he wearing? That's all I wear is Negro League jerseys on this platform, except the summer I might wear Mets, right? But this is the Toledo Tigers, Toledo, Ohio. Flannel. We turn the heat completely off on Saturdays when I do these because these are very hot, right? They're made of they're authentic. But let me get my emoji. Mine is a Louisville Slugger. Every time you came to the plate, you hit it right out the park. Grand slam. A lot of runs scored today, man. A lot of runs. So I appreciate you. I appreciate those emojis too. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Dr. Miller, the folks probably want to stay connected to you. How do they find you on social media? How do they book you? You're making a transition. So if they want you to come in and do a keynote, if they want you to come in and do a workshop, a seminar, or just a talk, whatever it is, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, my email address is drshakirahmiller@gmail.com. That's one. My social media platform is Leadership with Dr. Shakirah on Instagram and Facebook, as well as Dr. Shakirah Miller. You'll find me at both. And then you will also find, I'm working on my YouTube channel. It's also called Leadership with Dr. Shakirah.
Very good about that YouTube channel. And
I'm trying.
We're waiting for the website.
Yes, on my website is www.drshakirahmiller.com.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Give us that one more time.
www.drshakirah with an H at the end, Miller.com. .com.
So the spelling right there. Get in touch
That's
with her,
it.
folks. And those of you that are in leadership at the district level and you do those district convocations, you may want to bring her in to do that convocation speech as well. I don't know if you're doing any presenting or anything, Dr. Lott-Velez, but certainly you have the qualifications to do so. So how do the people follow you and also invite you if they want you to come out and extend this discussion to their whole staff, their whole district, whatever it is?
Yes, absolutely. I've been doing a lot of presenting, mostly in the early childhood space, which has been great for me too. But I'll give you my my information. My email address is Samantha Lott-Velez, eliminate the hyphen, so all one word, Samantha Lott-Velez@gmail.com. I am on Facebook as Samantha Lott-Velez. Without the hyphen, I believe. I am on Instagram as Samantha Lott-Velez. And I'm also on LinkedIn as Dr. Samantha Lott-Velez. So you could just look me up. I am open to, providing any professional development that you all need. I'm an email away. If anything that we talked about today, you're interested in learning more about, please feel free to reach out. And to all of the people tuning in today, we thank you, and, just continue to be great in all of the work that you do. And shout out to all of the Newark Board of Education staff that are here and everybody from the communities that we serve.
Yeah.
Sorry for that, but I just I have to throw that out there.
Newark was in here strong. So good stuff.
Can I just add,
yeah.
I saw a few Irvington and Roselle people in there as well.
Oh.
Shout out to you as well. This is the 3 districts I was in. Today was just a wonderful day. It was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for just taking in our stories and Principal Kafele just inviting us here on this platform just to be able to share what we are most passionate about, leadership. So thank you so much.
I appreciate
you so much.
Appreciate you. Between the 4 platforms, we had a little over 5,000 people checking in. So at different points, and so that's good. And then the bulk of our numbers are always the video later because everybody can't be on live. So this was really good. We touched a lot of people. You touched a lot of people. So great stuff. Let me close out. Y'all stay on, right? Don't leave. Close out. Hey, to the fam out there, appreciate you. I say that every Saturday. Appreciate you. This is my labor of love. I love the work I do during the day, but they pay me to do that work. But on Saturday morning in the preparation, because this is not just a Saturday thing, I start preparing Wednesday, and I'm doing this all night Wednesday. That's how I spend my Wednesday nights, just putting this together. Then Thursday I'm fine tuning, Friday I'm fine tuning, and then Saturday I get up early and I'm fine tuning, man. And then we go live on Saturday morning. So this is my labor of love. 256 sessions altogether. 257 next week. So let me talk about next week. Next week, we had a guest who's one of the language arts gurus in America, a young woman by the name of Dr. Amanda Patterson. But she hit me up live, and she had she had surgery. So we'll reschedule her. So now I'll be calling somebody that's unsuspecting and saying to them, I want you to come on this week. So we'll have somebody. I just don't know who it is yet. I got a list of 5 years, so I'll have somebody, right? So here we go. Next week, every Saturday morning, 10 o'clock Eastern time, Sean Hurt, followed by Create and Educate, Dr. Sheikah Houston, Dr. Tammy Taylor, 10:30, followed by the AP and New Principals Academy, hosted by myself. And also do know that starting the first Saturday in May, I'll be doing solo sessions again. The first Saturdays only. So for the next probably year or so, every first Saturday is mine, right? I'm just going to go solo, and we're going to be talking about whatever's on my mind on those Saturdays. And then Dr. Marcus Jackson will be doing a residence with me, and he'll be on every last Saturday of the month starting in April. So starting this month, he'll be on every last Saturday, and it's just he and I. And we'll be doing that. So that's something a little bit new going into the new season, because the anniversary is the first Saturday in May. That's why I'm timing it that way. That'll be the 5th anniversary of this platform, and then we'll be into year 6, right? So excited about that. Oh, I missed one, the PDP podcast, right? Josh, I know you were like, Josh probably said, what about us? Yeah, every Sunday night, PDP podcast, 7 o'clock, Josh Tovar and Dr. Mari Moreno every Sunday at 7 Eastern. So that's we round it out. We call it the Fantastic Four. So make sure that you join us. Josh, I'll see you in Charlotte either tomorrow night or certainly Monday when I present at the North Carolina middle level educators conference. Looking forward to getting down there with you all, and then I'll be other places during the week, which I don't even remember where I'm going. But wherever I'm going, if you're on here right now, I see you then. Get yourself a copy. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? If you don't have it, get yourself a copy. And by the way, mark your calendars. April 2nd, I'm doing a follow-up webinar with ASCD. The difference between the one I did in March and this one, the one in March was me doing a PowerPoint. The one in April 2nd, 1 o'clock Eastern, right? If you can't get away 1 o'clock Eastern, then see the rerun later. But the difference is I got about 3 people interviewing me. So I'll be just sitting back and they'll be throwing questions at me and we'll do it that way live. And then I got a podcast that I did with David Heber in Baltimore that should drop like maybe today, or if not early next week, where I was on location with him, not doing one of these virtuals, but we were on location. And you'll hear some things that I disclose about myself that you probably never heard before. So I'll post that when he puts it online, and there'll be some reels with it as well. Let's see. School Leadership Institute with me, July 15 and 16 in Raleigh. Again, scroll down. Make sure that you register. Go to principalcafele.com, I should say. Scroll down, click the link. Come join me in Raleigh, July 15 and 16. We're talking instructional leadership for 2 consecutive days, July 15 and 16. Come join me. I'd love to see you. Love to spend the 2 days with you. Subscribe to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel. We got 23,400 subscribers right now. Man, I'm blessed by that. But it's over 300,000 administrators in America, right? So we still got a long way to go. But I'm not going to downplay 23,400 subscribers to this channel, right? But hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button, hit the subscribe button. And then once you hit that button, the notifications bell will pop up. Hit that too. And that way you're notified when I go live every Saturday at 10:55. That's the only time I go live on the YouTube channel. But some of y'all might forget. So hit that subscribe button and hit that notifications bell. For the first time, this will be week 5 now that I've been extracting the monologue into a separate video, and then I put it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, and LinkedIn, and I think that's it. So I'll be doing that as well. So make sure if you missed the monologue today, go back to the beginning of this video once I go off, and you can check it out. It's called Self-Doubt and Effective Leadership Effectiveness Are Incompatible. So check the monologue out this morning and check the monologue out every day. Don't just tune in once you feel that I got my guest on screen. Tune in early, catch that monologue. I put a lot into that monologue in terms of preparation every week. And then lastly, your diet. As I say every week, eat right. You know, I was in hotels every night last week. Did I eat right? Nah, not really, right? I mean, I didn't eat poorly, but it wasn't like what I got home and my wife's dinner was prepared for me last night. You know, hotel food and your wife's cooking are not equivalent, right? So, you know, but we good for the weekend. I got a flight tomorrow, and then it'll be back to that crap in them hotels next week. But your diet, y'all, your exercise. Y'all know I posted a gym picture last week. And I do that from time to time to encourage somebody. So I was real tired, man. I was real tired. I had worked all day, but I still hit that gym at about 6 o'clock in the hotel fitness room and put in just 2 miles. Yeah, I ain't gonna overdo it when I'm on the road like that. 2 miles, but 2 is better than no miles, right? So make sure you get that exercise in. And then lastly, the virus precautions. I only took 1 flight last week. I drove all week. I drove from Albany to Middletown, Connecticut, and then I drove from Middletown, Connecticut yesterday to Jersey City. You know, so I did a lot of driving last week. $600 in rental car fee, and which is a lot of money. But that's, you know, I kept the same car from Sunday till last night, so you know, cost money. But I didn't have to fly and catch people's coughing and sneezing germs on the airplane. That's the point that I was making, and the fact that I drove. Won't be like that next week though. But anyway, make sure you're taking care of that. And then lastly, y'all, thanks for being here. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. You know how we do it. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Now cock that fist back all the way. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! I see y'all next Saturday. Be here.